Yes, people! Welcome back to GNA TV and Chelsea Fan TV. I hope you guys are well, wherever it is that you may be around the world. We are here to discuss the Chelsea show. Everything Chelsea. Like I said to you guys, once a week we go through the utmost update information in and around Chelsea Football Club. So today we'll talk about Leao and the links to Leao, and they're sort of growing. The growing links from Leao. We're going to talk about the injury that Broja got against Aston Villa. We're going to go through all of the midfield options that Chelsea are being supposedly linked to as well. Striker options as well. We're going to be talking about all the striker options as well that Chelsea have been linked to as well. There's so much to go through today. Like, it's actually going to be a very good show. I'm looking forward to this, man. And I'm looking forward to the fact that Chelsea are going to be back in action very soon as well. Lots to discuss, lots to get into, but I need you to do one big thing at the moment, which is smash them likes. Let's get these likes up over 50 on both GNA TV and Chelsea Fan TV as quickly as possible. Lots and lots and lots to discuss on today. We was meant to have CFC Pies with us potentially. He did say he might be able to make it in. He hasn't come back to me as of yet, but he may pop in later. If not, we'll get him on the next show as well. But there's still so much to talk about. So please hit the like, subscribe if you're new to Chelsea Fan TV and GNA TV, and let's cue that intro. Yes, people, what are you saying? Welcome back to GNA TV and Chelsea Fan TV, and it feels good to be able to do another Chelsea show with you guys as always. The transfer window is round the corner. We are suffering from injuries, even though the Premier League hasn't even started yet, which means Chelsea are probably going to be busy in that January period. Will Todd Boehly go out into the market and start looking for the potentials of replacements for Broja, who have been obviously reported to be injured for a while? And we're going to discuss that very shortly as well. Midfield options, Rafael Leao, and the ever-growing increase in talks around him and the potential move to Chelsea. Will Todd Boehly sanction it? Will they be able to negotiate with AC Milan for a player of such high quality? We already know that Nkunku, from what we've been told, is pretty much there, done and safe to say there, but pretty much signed off in an instant as well. So Nkunku to Chelsea, as from what we understand, is done. But you know, we'll wait till we see him hold that kit. We've seen it happen in the past with other players still. I'm still confident that we've got this done. You know, people like Fabrizio Romano have been commenting quite heavily on Nkunku to Chelsea. But yeah, lots to talk around today. Lots to just to like discuss, open it up to you guys as well. Get your thoughts and feelings in the chat in regards to certain topics. Over 75 of you guys are already. Big up to every single one of you guys that are currently in on the show. Sorry I haven't been able to do as many shows as I always like to do, but it's just been not much going on, obviously with the World Cup as well. But we will be going back to normal very soon. Very soon. I say very soon. I'm going away on the 23rd of December for 10 days. But when I get back, it'll be at the beginning of Jan, which is the beginning of the transfer window. And then we'll have some normality in the shows and normality into the transfer window as well. We have Ben Jacobs coming on. We'll bring on Pies as well. And we'll try and see if we can find out some break-ins, if there is any, across that period as well. Let's say hello to the chat as always. Big up to RD. He's talking about Pulisic. No surprise. He's saying he would thrive under Klopp. He was the reason why Pulisic got into Dortmund in the first team squad. I don't know where that's come from. I've not seen any recent links to Pulisic and Liverpool, so I don't know what's going on. Well, CFC Nathan, big up to you, man. Up the Chelsea. Nice to see you. CFC Jack's in the house as well. Big up to you, Steve. RFC, nice to see you. Tobago, bro. Nice to see you. Hope you're well. It's good to see you in the house. It's been a while since I've seen you in here. Charlie, big up to you, bro. You're really ill at the moment, yeah. Oh, Jesus, bro. Well, I hope you recover. Hope you get better. There's a lot of people suffering from illnesses at the moment. So, yeah, I hope you get well soon, mate. Chelsea Ultra, big up to you. Love the name Chelsea Ultra. That's a proper Chelsea name. Love it. Who else we got here? Leo, nice to see you, bro. Nice to see you, as always. Biggest supporter. Vic, my bro. Nice to see you in the house. Oh, Nomadic. She just made me laugh. She just sent me a message. She made me laugh. Splotter Tactics. Matty's moaning already about Graham Potter. He has no faith in Potter. He has no faith in Boehly. He doesn't think they're the right people to lead us on. I keep telling him to be patient. People in the chat, tell Matty to be patient. If you agree with him, then you agree with him. But if you disagree with him, then just tell him to be a bit patient. Big up to CFC Pez Lord. It is so sad with the Broja news, you know. It's just ridiculous, to be honest. It really is utterly ridiculous. It's how that it's happened, to be honest. So unlucky in many terms as well. George on Foot, nice to see you. Rashid, nice to see you. Ollie Joe, nice to see you. What striker do you think we will get? What is a good question. We are going to go through some of the options, and then I'm going to ask you guys as well. And you know, I'd like to get your thoughts and opinions on striker options for January, because this is the thing, right? We can't be looking at any main marquee strikers because we know that we've got Nkunku. We know Nkunku signed for the summer. However, without Broja, it only really leaves us with Aubameyang and Kai Havertz, the guy over there in the corner of his face smiling that Lewis don't like seeing, right over there. And I don't really want to see Kai Havertz play in a 9. I don't think most Chelsea fans want to see him playing in as a 9. But I think it's something we do need to look at. However, how much are we going to spend in that area? And what can we get? Because even if you want a Premier League proven player, like, for example, I like Ivan Toney, who I think would be great at Chelsea. He's going to cost you 50, 60 million. You look at someone like Mitrovic, for example, who's now banging in goals. Even if you try to entice a Mitrovic to Chelsea, it's not going to be cheap because he's their best player. So it's like, who are Chelsea going to go for? You know, who are Chelsea going to look at? Mokoko's another one. Vlahovic is another one. Vlahovic. I can never say his name properly. What else have we got? Mokoko, Vlahovic. There's another one as well. I can't even think. But anyway, I've got the tabs open. We're going to go through it as we speak. Someone said Lukaku in the chat. Big up to Carefree Lewis. He says he's ill as well. God's sake, mate. What's going on with you lot? What is going on with everyone? Everyone's just ill. Dominic Carney, big up to you, bro. Nice to see you in the chat. Danny, big up to you, bro. Chelsea Ultra, big up to you. Yeah, Lewis says that scarf just made me violently ill. No, that scarf should make you feel better, because when you support your players, yeah, like I keep saying to you, when you actually support the badge and you support the club, and you know, you support some of your players or your players overall in the club, you shouldn't be saying things like that, but you choose to say things like that. So that is on you, Mr. Carefree Lewis. You know, that is on you. Back your players, mate. Back all your players. Leao as a 9 would work too. I'm not too sure, but we are going to talk about Leao. Obviously, Leao is the main topic today, so we are going to get into that. We're going to open up the lines as well. Big up to CFC OG Felix. That's it, a good one. I forgot about Felix as well, but to be honest, I didn't even put him up. I'd love Mitrovic, is what Tobogo's saying. All right, let's get into it. Let's start getting into the show. I'm going to obviously start with the news in and around Broja and his unfortunate injury. ACL injury that he's picked up. Obviously, Fabrizio Romano's commented by saying, devastated to be an end in 2022 in this way for Amanda Broja, confirmed surgery needed after an ACL injury. Sources are optimistic on his return at the beginning of 23-24 season for the striker. Recovery time expected to be 6 to 7 months. People ask, what was the actual injury? We know it's an ACL, a torn ACL, but I think there was a, if I'm right in saying, there's a comment here from, no, I thought it was Ben Jacobs. Yeah, he's ruptured his ACL, basically, from what I understand. He's ruptured his ACL and he's torn his ACL, which means 6, 7 months on the back of it. Obviously, that is a reasonable time frame. We have seen players recover quicker. Some players take longer. Again, this falls down to your own body, how quickly you can recover, etc., etc. But it's sad because you look at Amanda Broja at Chelsea, and this was his chance. You know, he wasn't playing every game, but he was getting minutes, and he was on a, you know, he was being sort of switched and rotated and given moments. And I think, again, he would have, going into this next part of the season, been used heavily. We know that we can't play Aubameyang in every single game. We know that coming back into the next part of this Chelsea season, that it's going to be heavy in terms of matches played. Don't be surprised if in 8 days we play 3 games, easily equivalent, because we've still got Champions League football. We've still got, obviously, all the Premier League games that we haven't played to be made up for the Christmas period, which is usually crazy when you think about it. The Christmas period, which is usually a very busy period for football, has to be then forced into the months. And I don't know how I've not really looked into how they're going to do that and when it will end and whatever, but they're going to have to pack out the months left going up to May, potentially June, to get all these games played. Now, what you don't want is a squad that's tired, a squad that you can't rotate. Chelsea have numbers. We argue about the quality. Don't get me wrong, the quality is equally an issue because of what we're trying to do. But we do have numbers. However, a lot of players have been out. Reece James, Wesley Fofana, and then N'Golo Kante. We've lost Ben Chilwell again. So, to lose Broja on the top of that is a shame. At the same time, there has been some positives in terms of the return of Reece James, the return of Fofana. Chilwell and Kante are not as close, but, they're making their way back to fitness. But it causes us a problem, doesn't it? Because we know that we suffer from scoring goals up front. We suffer from actually having strikers, an out-and-out striker. I class Broja as an out-and-out striker at Chelsea. And to go into this next part, trying to challenge to get Champions League football has now made it a lot harder because we are now relying on the likes of people like Aubameyang to step up, and I don't really know if I want us to do that. So for me, it's a thing of like, yeah, we should be looking in the market and we should be trying to look to bring in someone, but who is the question? And we're going to talk about some of the options next, obviously. Real mental support. Yeah, Lewis. Yeah, tell him. I don't know. Big up to Sirs anyway. He says, I don't think Bro will ever make it at Chelsea now because of his ACL. He's going to lose his pace. We don't know that yet. Don't get me wrong. An ACL is a serious injury and it does hold people back, and it's a mental thing. We've seen it with some of the other young players that have had serious injuries. Ruben Loftus-Cheek, Callum Hudson-Odoi. These are players that have suffered from, that have suffered from real injuries, and it's a thing of like, how do they respond? He's on a long-term contract. He's been given an incentive in terms of, where he needs to put himself in terms of maybe trying to get himself in the first team, becoming an important player, maybe even leading the line at this football club, something that we want to, we're hoping to see, Yeah, I agree with RD on that one. I do. I think he has got that way about him. Get me Makoko. Well, we're going to talk about the options now. That's the next bit. This is the same manager, by the way, who played a unfit Reece James. Wouldn't that all be surprised if Bro was suffering from a knock? No, you can't be suffering from a knock and then tear your ACL. If you tear your ACL, you tear your ACL. Like, you don't have a semi-ACL, like a semi-injury. Do you know what I mean? And then get played. Like, they wouldn't have done that. So for me, this is just a fresh injury that's just happened on the pitch, and unfortunately, it's going to put him out for a while. So no Broja means what? Means Chelsea needs to maybe be busy in this window, a window where we thought we might get one player or two, midfielder or wing back. We're now being told that we could potentially be looking at strikers because we're been forced into the position to do so. We just can't seem to catch a break, can we? We generally can't seem to catch a break as a football club. It's absolutely crazy. It's absolutely crazy. And it goes on to say here again from Fabrizio Romano that Chelsea are prepared to sign a new striker in January. It was already one of the possibilities discussed in the last months, now becoming concrete after Amanda Broja's injury. Talks will take place to find the best opportunity on the market. Chelsea will be on it. Well, what does that mean specifically? The best opportunity in the market? Obviously, the best available person. Now, look, when it comes to January signings, and I have seen it in the past, we've signed some big name players on the odd occasion. It is very hard to get a top marquee signing to this football club in January, especially if their teams are in Champions League, especially if their teams are challenging for titles or having a good season. It's very hard to pull players out. Now, there are them odd players that are maybe not playing too well, that are suffering with form, that maybe just not enjoying the league that they're in. And there will be an option to do that. But for me to be able to sign a striker of quality, it's going to have to be on the player. And when I say that, I mean the player's going to want to have to push a move in January, which means that they won't hang around for the next part of the season at wherever they are, because they're looking, basically, they just see a dead end and they just want to move on. Now, obviously, opportunities in the market can come and arise from this. But at the same time, from our perspective, we have to be clever with this, because what we don't want to do is, we know Christopher Nkunku's coming in summer, and he's kind of going to be the main guy who's going to be leading the line. And you can't really be forced to go and look for another sort of top marquee signings to come in just to cover you for a small period. I would like to have a top quality striker, a striker that we can rotate, that we benefit from in terms of like when he plays the system, it just works, right? We want players that come into the system and work for Potter and work for Chelsea, and it happens. Not like the same shit as we had with Romelu Lukaku, where we bought him spent all that stupid money, brought him here, and he just shat on his club. Didn't really offer much. We don't need that. The profile was completely wrong. So the question is, will we find the right profile of player? Will we find the right budget for the player? Or are we going to spend stupid money just to bring in a second striker? I don't know. I hope not. But at the same time, you want someone of quality, you're going to have to spend a bit of money. Now, there are options out there. There are players that Chelsea are talking about. Or should we say, the journalists are talking about, not Chelsea. The journalists are talking about the moment. Now, of recent, we've already spoke about him, but another link to Chelsea has been this young lad, Moukoko. Now, I haven't seen a load of him, but when you look at his stats and you watch bits of him, very good player. 77 games, 127 goals, 25 assists. Now, that is an outstanding record. And again, that's under 70s and under 19 stats that he's provided there. One of Europe's elite young talents. Now, the step from playing from that to the Premier League is obviously a massive step. And, that will be saying that he'll be tested in. But is he ready, really ready to come in and be a second striker at Chelsea? On top of that, I found out from a very close friend of mine that to sign this young lad in the January window, it's going to cost you a good 30 to 40 plus million. And this is on the back of him actually coming to the end of his contract as well. So are Chelsea going to be willing to pay that kind of money now, which Dortmund will then benefit from, to then bring this boy across and give him the option to be a second striker at Chelsea and give him the chance there and then? And then obviously when Nkunku comes in, it could be him and Nkunku moving forward. And you'll probably have Aubameyang hanging around. If you notice, when it comes to Aubameyang, I don't really focus on him as our main striker because I don't see him really being here too long. I'll be honest with you. I don't really feel it with Aubameyang. But, he's got to be happy to do that. He's got to be happy to do that and be a second striker. And at his age, I think he will. And being given the opportunity to come to Chelsea, if Chelsea are interested in him and granted to go for it, maybe it's a good option for the future. Equally, the issue then falls to what we have been doing in recent is that we seem to be buying a lot of young prospects, young players that we will not potentially look for now, maybe get chances in the first team, but players that you'll probably look at and go, well, do you know what? They could be something in the future. They are the future of Chelsea. And when you look at Carney, you look at Casadei, you look at this young lad, you look at the Zakarian, the Russian attacker that we were interested in. We was interested in the other lad that we didn't even get that's gone to Real Madrid as well. There's a lot. It's a lot of young talents, a lot of top young talents that we're interested in, but we're also spending ultimately the money to bring these young talents in. It's fine doing that, but at the same time, I still think it's very important that you have a blend of quality, experience, understanding, know-how in the team. It's not all about just bringing in all these young players that you will give an opportunity in the first team here and there, and then maybe in the future they break in and potentially in the long haul, it saves Chelsea money because if we pull through Casadei, Amari Hutchison falls himself into the team. Lewis Hall becomes Chelsea's main left back. Moukoko, we buy him, and then a couple of years later, or just say even in recent, he takes off. Carney becomes a really good midfielder, and he starts playing for Chelsea consistently. You end up saving a ton of money in the market for going after like the top European players just to try and keep us at the level that we need to be. Especially if these young talents can grow into that level as they get to their primes. So I get why Chelsea are trying to buy these young players. I get why we're looking at bringing all these young talents in. Maybe it's the long term. Maybe it's the fact that we don't want to always have to pull money out of the pocket. But it's also taking the risk because you don't know whether they're going to make it at Chelsea. How many young players have made it at this football club and been successful at this football club? Now, how many of them have been successful at this football club? And that's the real big question. And that's going to fall down to the recruitment policy. Obviously, we brought in a decent recruitment team. We're going to have to see what they're about, and it's going to fall down to the manager and opportunities that he's going to give to these guys. Now, going back to Moukoko to Chelsea, if his contract runs out in the summer, why would Chelsea spend 30, 40 million in January to bring him in? We might be forced into doing that now. But ultimately, I think we're going to keep our options open in this instance, So Coco could be a chance for Chelsea. I'm just going through the chat. Vlahovic is another one that we're going to talk about in a second. bring Messi to Chelsea. Can you imagine? Can you imagine that? He's pressing very, very good, but not the shot creation and finishing is what Gary was saying. Moukoko isn't going to solve a forward issue. He's still young, but he's not going to do that now, Nathan. I agree. However, would he not be a great second option? So rotation, a bit like we've done with Broja this season. You bring out Aubameyang because he's not going to play every game, and it's going to be a busy period. You give this boy a chance. Should we do that? That's the question. Big up to John Anderson as well. Nice to see you. Toboga says that is the plan. The biggest comparison I can find is Werner, but better finishing, of course, is what Caleb's saying on Moukoko. So there's one option in the January. Will Chelsea look to pay the money for Moukoko? We'll have to wait and see on that one. The second one that I want to talk about is the one that Ben Jacobs actually brought out. I think it was yesterday. And just quickly before I do that, I just got to do something. 2 seconds. Okay, thank you, Dominic Carney. Okay, cool. Well, that's even more interesting, which will lead me into my comments on him, which will come in next. Thank you for that. I think Moukoko will resign. Best option for his growth at BV and moving 2 to 3 years. Yeah, potentially. But at the same time, he might think, do you know what, given an opportunity to go to Chelsea and play, play as a rotational player in the second team could be a great option for him as well. So, it's going to be interesting. Rather buy Mitrovic, yeah, but buying Mitrovic is going to cost, guys. This is not going to be a 20 million signing. This is their best player. One of their best players. They're going to want a good 30, 40 million from Mitrovic. It's the same as Ivan Toney. Ivan Toney is going to cost Chelsea 50 million. And this is what it gets to when it comes to, the other one, Felix, as well. I don't want him anyway. You think Felix is going to solve our problems as a striker? A second striker, which is what he is. He's not a main striker. How many second strikers are we forcing to play as main strikers at Chelsea and it hasn't worked? Do you think we would learn from this moment? Felix is just not the right profile player for me. He's not a bad player. Don't get me wrong. Just doesn't fit what we're trying to do. He needs to fit in a system that he benefits from. He can't just come in and, and lead, in my opinion. He's just not that player. I think Ivan Toney is the answer. But the thing with Ivan Toney, you spend 50 million on him, he has to start. That means Aubameyang comes second fiddle. That means Aubameyang is your second striker for me. Aubameyang shouldn't be our first striker if you spend 40, 50 million on Ivan Toney. And this is my point. Are Chelsea going to spend 40, 50 million on top quality strikers? Because if they're going to do that, these strikers are going to start, in my opinion. And then what? You've got Nkunku coming in the summer. Great competition. Don't get me wrong. I'm not going to complain about it. I love that. I love to have competition in the club. Something we need at Chelsea. Something that's ultimately led to our success in the past is having competition across the pitch. We want competition. We have to have competition in this squad. But spending 50 million there, 60 million on Nkunku, that's 100 odd million. 110 odd million plus on 2 strikers in your team. And that's without sorting your midfield out. That's potentially not in the talks of maybe getting another centre-back if Silva doesn't stay. Wing-back options. We've been told we're going to go into a back 4. Maybe we don't have to worry about the wing-back options, but we still need backup for Reece James. There's a lot, is what I'm saying. Broja kind of eliminated Chelsea having to spend serious money on a second striker because he was as. And he is coming back in the summer. But what are we going to do? We're in a sticky period. For me, we're in a sticky situation at the moment. We're really in a sticky situation. Tony has 246 betting issues, never going to happen. Big up to Declared in the house. Nice to see you, Declared, as always. So the next one that's being linked to Chelsea is Vlahovic. And obviously, Ben Jacobs said that told there is a very real possibility that Dusan Vlahovic will leave Juventus in 2023. A January exit is not being ruled out by those close to him. Several top European clubs are in touch with his agent, including Chelsea, although nothing particularly advanced at this point. So this at this point is just, is he going to leave? Is he not? How much? Again, how much is Vlahovic going to be in the market? How much is he going to cost? That's what I really need to know. How much is Vlahovic going to be in the market? Let's have a quick look. I want to have a look at his stats as well, because stats for current season. Let's go. All right. So we'll let's bring you to this. Let's take you to this quickly. So this is Vlahovic on transfer market, right? We're gonna look at we're gonna look at his value, market value, in a second, right? This season he's played 15 games overall. 10 in Serie A, 5 in the Champions League. He scored 1 goal in the Champions League. He scored 6 in the Serie A, assisting 1 on both as well. He's played around 800 minutes of football, so over 1,200 minutes of football played. 6 goals in 10 games is not a bad average. It's more than 50% in terms of scoring per game. Champions League, not as good. Only 1 goal in 5 games, but then again, it doesn't actually explain whether he started or if he's come off the bench or whatever, so we don't know. Obviously, we can see from here. You look at him at the season before. You look at him at 21-22 and what he did there over a full season. And arguably, he had one of his best ever seasons. 36 games, 24 goals, 5 assists. 29 goals in total with 6 assists, only 4 goals in there. And again, only 1 Champions League goal as well, obviously. You could probably argue because of the team he was playing for at that point. But still, good numbers. So he's shown it in a full season that he can hit 20-plus odd goals. He started this season not as bad, should we say. And then, again, he scored another 21 goals in 2021. So in 2 seasons, he scored over 20 goals. This season, he's played 10 games and scored 6 goals. Maybe not hit. He may hit the 20 mark if he has a better second season, but potentially he has it in him to do it. We can see it from his stats that he has been banging in goals. In terms of his market value, what do we say here? So they seem to think that if you're going to sign Dusan Vlahovic at a market value at the moment, you're looking at around 80 million. He was 70 million. I don't know why he's gone up since he's gone to Juventus. He's not really played well for Juventus, but they're saying around at the moment from November the 11th, 2022, and he is only at the age of 22. I didn't even know he was that young as well. He's only going to cost you 80 million euros, which equivalates to about 70 odd million sterling. Only, yeah? Only. So how much are they going to sell Vlahovic to Chelsea for? Big up to Mitchy Boy in the house, man. Nice to see you, bro. Matthew, nice to see you as well. Over 150 of you guys here. Big up to every single one of you guys that are here. But make sure, smash the likes, guys. Come on, get them likes up. I know we haven't got enough. Please subscribe as well. Please subscribe to GNA TV and Chelsea Fan TV as well. Big up to every single one of you guys. I'm not saying he's bad, but he just doesn't seem like a Chelsea player, does he? Well, when you watch Vlahovic, one thing I would say that I think would work with Chelsea is that he's a bit of a bulldozer. He can link up play, he can hold play, he can finish. He's not the quickest, but he has a bit of pace. And he scores goals. So the last 2 seasons, he's banged goals. My biggest issue with Vlahovic to Chelsea is this: 80 million. Because if that is what he's going for in the January window, I don't want to see us spending more for Vlahovic than what we did on Nkunku when we got Nkunku for 70 million euros. Minus. So my problem with Vlahovic is not specifically the player. My problem is his price tag. And what does that really mean when we go out spending? What does that mean when we actually spending that kind of money? Interesting stuff. Well, that goes on to it. So, and funny enough, Dominic sent me something again, big up to him, which has just come out recent as well, which we'll go to now. Basically says from the Secret Scout, which has just come out a couple minutes ago, that Dusan Vlahovic is Chelsea do still hold an interest in him. We exclusively reported our interest in him before he moved to Juventus, and the new owners still have him on the shortlist. So again, ignoring Leao for a second, because we're going to get to Leao next. Vlahovic to Chelsea is an interest to Chelsea. He can be an interest and he can be on the shortlist. But ultimately, the commitment to signing Nkunku for 70 million euros tells me that he should probably be your main striker. Now, some people say, well, we can play Nkunku off the right, off the left, play him as a 10, buy an out-and-out striker, you know, this, that, and the other. But this think logically right now. We've got Nkunku, 70 million euros. Vlahovic is going to cost us 70 to 80 million, unless we can get a loan on him. Potentially, we maybe get a short-term loan till the end of the season. Who knows? Juventus may be happy to do that. I don't think they will, because they want him there. You then want Leao, which is going to cost you 70, 80, 90, 100 plus million, depending on what Chelsea can negotiate if we're going to go in for that one. And that's without outgoings, letting players go. And that's without sorting the midfield. That's without sorting the wing-backs. That's without sorting the defence. Whatever the hell we're going to do in the summer, that's a lot of money to put forward in your forward line. Now, I'm not saying that we don't need it, because we do. I think we do need a Leao. And in Nkunku, I still think we need. A second striker, we still definitely need. But Broja will be back in the summer. We don't know how good he's going to be when he comes back, but you know, he will be there. So what did Chelsea do now in January? 80 million for Vlahovic is well too much, guys. I was waiting for this one. You know, You know, the guy scores a hat-trick for Portugal, and all of a sudden, we're going to sign him. We should sign him. Big up to RD. Big up to Undertaker CFC, man. I haven't seen you in a while, bro. Big up to you. Nice to see you back here as well. Over 160 of you guys here combined. But I know ultimately we ain't got enough likes, because I'm going to look at the likes now. Chelsea Fan TV, we've only got 46 likes and there's over 100 people here. Come on, guys. Smash that like. Let's get this over 50 and then close the gap to 100 on that one. And I know on GNA TV, we ain't got enough there as well. There's over, 60 people there. Big up to every single one of you guys that are here as well. But 30 likes? Come on, guys. If every single one of you smashed a like now, that will take me to 50 likes on that channel. Please do that. Please get this over 50 likes. It helps me. It helps the channel. Supports the channel. Big up to Starboy, says Juve have no choice but to get rid of him, some players. So we hope that's probably partly true. But what are they going to let him go for? Because they're not going to cut themselves. They spent 80 million signing Vlahovic to Juventus. They're not going to say, here, I'll have him for 30, 40, half price. I don't see that. They're going to want to try and hold out for something close to 70 or 80 million for the guy, I feel. And that's a problem. And that's why Chelsea shouldn't be looking at Vlahovic for the price tag specifically. Issue, not the player. The price tag's an issue for me on this one, but we'll see. We will see. Another bit of it in news for you, recent news, is again from the score on this one. Friar Simon Phillips. Chelsea have decided to sign a new striker in January. So they have decided, supposedly, is what we're being told, likely to try and stick to the ethos of bringing in young players. What did I talk about earlier when I said to you guys about we're buying all these young players? We said it's like we're doing it for a reason. We want them to force themselves in, give them incentives on their contracts, long-term contracts, you know, try and get them to force themselves into this team. Ultimately, it's still a big risk, because how do we know that they're Chelsea caliber? How do we know that they're Premier League caliber? It's a risk to take and to spend money on these young players. Ultimately, it could pay off. The rewards could be good. The recruitment team, Todd Bowley, have to get this right. If it doesn't work, they will just sell them on. But the value of the player may not be as great. Don't get me wrong. However, having young players is not the issue. I don't mind having young players. Cool. Get all these young top talents that are going to hopefully grow and become a team and then all play together in a Chelsea first team. That's what we want to see for once in our Chelsea lives. But ultimately, you still need to have marquee sign. You have like top experienced players in there, top marquee signings in there, top experienced players in there. Experience and youth has to be balanced to bring the best out of our squad. Too much youth leaves lack of inexperience, which means that we'll probably suffer for a couple of seasons, in my opinion. And too much experience could fall deemly down to age. You know, to age as they get older, being slower. You know, maybe not as sharp, not in their primes anymore. Like, you got to have a bit of both. You might have a bit more youth and have a little bit less experience, but you've got the experience there. And that's where we have to kind of still get it right, because in certain positions, we can't just have youth. The midfield, I think we need to look at top players. Top players. I'm talking about top European players. And we're going to talk about the midfielders shortly after we spoke about Rafael Leao. So it goes on to say Chelsea are sensing a January opportunity for Leao. Though he is largely a winger, many believe he can play as a number 9 and merging into it. Really? 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 I don't know if I... can I even open this? Let's have a quick look. All right, fine. I can open this. Let's go into it. Let's quickly read the article from Simon Phillips. Over 180 of you guys here. This is a brand new article just come out 40 minutes ago via Simon Phillips in regards to replacing Broja. So let's read what he has to say here. He says, the name came in yesterday that we had all feared. Sorry, the news that came in yesterday that we all feared and expected. Amanda Broja has done his ACL and will be out for the rest of the season. Fabrizio Romano says Broja is aiming to be back for the beginning of next season. We already know this. Either way, Chelsea have decided to replace Broja with a new striker in January and will actively pursue the right one. They will not panic. They will not panic buy, and they will not rush into the first name they look at. And as always, will be names on the shortlist and many names being considered. Chelsea and no club will ever just actively pursue one target for any one position. They need options for obvious reasons. Well, it's like everything, isn't it? You don't go into a market just looking at one player. You go into a market to have the options to look at buying A, B, C, and D. What you do then is you sit with your manager. They're probably going to use data analytics, which is what we've been told Bowley and co like doing, or trying to do at Chelsea. And then they'll make a decision on who they're going to go for. Might narrow down to 2. They probably won't just narrow it to 1 because they don't know if they're going to get the one. You need to have options. I'm told that the club are likely to try and stick to their ethos of bringing in largely young players to move forward in a new era and for the future of the club. Now, what did I just say to you guys earlier on in the show before we even got to this? This has just come out 40 minutes ago. I've not even read this. I was just going on the assumptions of what I think we're doing. And again, just prove me right where we're going with this. We're bringing in a lot of young players. Worries me a little bit, slightly. Because having young players, top prospects is cool. But the balance of experience and top marquees is equally as important. The balance of having both in a team is important. Some of these players ain't even ready to start playing. And that's why they're playing like people like Casadei in the reserves. Carney's given his opportunity, but in a busy sort of area, when you look at where he plays in the position for Chelsea, Broja was given the opportunity before he got his ACL torn. Mari Hutchinson, who fat Chelsea fans are screaming to get in the team, had his opportunity and took it quite well against Aston Villa. Will he get given a chance? Lewis Hall's been good, as he always is. You're bringing in more. I just, I don't know if we're doing it from a revenue standpoint, because I think they're trying to just go, right, bring in all these young players, give them long-term contracts, give them an incentive to want to get into this team, and then they get rewards. So maybe it could be bonuses, it could be whatever. It's an incentive. An incentive meaning you hit your targets. This is what we'll give you. This is what I think they're going to do with all these young players. And that's not a problem. I like that. It's a good way of doing things, especially with these young prospects. It forces them into taking it seriously, into trying to force themselves into the team. But where does it leave Chelsea as a team? And do we have to be more patient in terms of what to expect, our own expectations of this football club? Because our expectation has always been to challenge, close the gap to Man City. We're nowhere near that. We've said that on previous shows before. But bringing in all these young players is not going to close the gap to Man City, in my opinion. It's going to need time. And one of the issues that we have at this football fan base, this current football club on Twitter, the fans, not all fans, but current issues that we see on social media with Chelsea fans, is that we don't have patience. We want things now. We're still stuck in this Roman mindset. And if this is what they're looking to do in the long run, fine. But we're going to have to change this, the mindset, the way we look at this football club. And maybe it means that we suffer a little bit for long-term gain. But there has to be a long-term gain, and it has to be progression. Because if there isn't, we have problems. We will generally have problems. So I wouldn't be surprised to see a young player come in So I wouldn't be surprised to see a young player come in to replace Broja. So he's saying he feels that from what Chelsea are trying to do, they're going to look at young players again to come in and play as a second striker or a second fiddle. Who, let's remember, is still also young. We are not looking to replace experience here. Who, let's remember, is also still young. Talking about Broja, we are not looking to replace experience here, is what he's saying. There will be a host of names being looked at, with some already being on the shortlist and are being immediately considered. Chelsea decided that they will search for a new striker as soon as Broja got injured. They were proactive and wise and knew that they would be a striker down. They immediately spoke with Graham Potter about this, who agreed that they need to go and hunt for a new striker. So Graham Potter has agreed for Chelsea to go and get this done. Go and find me a striker. But equally, it's who are we going to look at? And when you talk about young talent, like what Simon Phillips is saying there, bringing in young prospects, Moukoko probably fits the bill perfectly. You wouldn't look at a Vlahovic, who's going to cost you 80 million euros. He's young, still ultimately quite experienced in terms of where he's been and who he's playing. But Moukoko's young. He's a young player. He's talented. Probably be happy to play second fiddle at Chelsea. And then it's who else out there? If there is anyone else out there that we should be looking at. But reading that article, guys, I'll be honest with you, that article tells me that we're probably going to be looking at the long-term run. I don't think that they're completely thinking about the now, completely about close the gap to Man City quickly now. I think they're going to invest money and they're going to try and bring in what they want to bring in now. They're going to set the foundations, and then maybe time will be given to grow that squad, to bring and progress that squad. And that's Potter's going to be Potter's, obviously, management to bring these players to a level which may take a season or two or more. Who fucking knows, to be honest, to then be able to challenge. Maybe I'm wrong, and I hope I am. I hope I am wrong on what I'm saying, because if we do it a lot quicker and these young players come in and they smash it and they bang and they take their chances, yeah, we only benefit from it as a football club. And that ultimately means that we narrow the gap between the top and become more successful and we start winning trophies more consistently again, because that's what we want. But when they say Chelsea are looking to bring in young players for the new era, you only got to look at what they've done already and what they've been trying to do and the links to what they've already brought in. It ultimately tells me that they are going for the youth. Don't get me wrong, they're still going to probably look for a Declan Rice and some other experience, and we're going to need that, especially in the midfield. But ultimately, they're going to try and build a young squad up and progress them through. And that's going to be the interesting thing here. Zaha is what we need, is what Jonathan's saying here. Zaha, look, I've already said what I said about Zaha. I think he'd be a great option for Chelsea. People might not like it, but at least he's Premier League proven. He comes in, he's got the ability to dribble, take people on, create. I think he's a short-term game. You bring in Nkunku, you force Aubameyang out. We don't need Aubameyang in the summer, in my opinion. Get rid of him. Bro will be back. You have Nkunku and you have Zaha. And then on top of that, you might then bring in a Leao, and you've still got Mason Mount and whoever you still keep. Ziyech may be gone. Pulisic might not be. Might still be here. Havertz might be gone. Who fucking knows? But it's going to be interesting. The last few years of Roman weren't good. Given our resources, we have won 2 league cups, 2 out of 10 league titles, and have only challenged for 1 more over 10 years. That's not really good enough. You're right. You're right. So these expectations that a lot of us fans haven't been there for a while. Yes, Galib, we're going to get to midfielders next, mate. That is the next thing we're going to do. And then I'm going to open up the lines and we're going to get you guys in. We're going to talk about it. We are going to talk about it. Chelsea would step up to bid for a new striker. TalkSport are just bringing out the same thing. Yeah, I haven't got anything from you, Galib, if you've sent me a message, mate. I haven't got no DMs from you, mate. You said you've DM'd me. I can't see anything. Hey, you guys, 200 people nearly here. Big up to every single one of you guys that are in. We are having an in-depth talk about the Chelsea striker saga going into January window. What they're going to do. They're going to spend the dough. They're not going to spend the dough. They're going to consistently stick to buying young players, bringing through young players, giving them the opportunity in the first team. If they do, maybe we have to be more patient. Maybe these young players just fly in the Premier League. Maybe it just takes off. Who knows? Who knows? But we will see at a later stage what's going to happen with that. Now, let's quickly jump on to Rafael Leao, because Rafael Leao is a player that Chelsea are heavily linked with at the moment, right? Now, it's been building up. And we're going to fly through these very quickly because we've got to get into the midfield as well before we open up the lines. Chelsea will push for Rafael Leao in January if they sense an opportunity, which they are at the moment. Leao, from what we understand, hasn't agreed to extend his contract with AC Milan, which is leaving AC Milan in a very vulnerable position. Now, they want to try and charge 120, 130 million euros for Rafael Leao. If he doesn't sign the extension, he ultimately ends up coming to the end of his contract, which means what? Think about it. So maybe it's an easier way for him to get out of the club, which is why he's not extending the contract. And maybe he does want that move. And Chelsea, I think, are heavily in touch. And when you look at what he's been doing recently with the comments to Reece James and the love, the back and forwards comments to each other, following Chelsea, I think he followed Chelsea Twitter or something like that, and then unfollowed it as well. We'll go through it. Leao, at this stage, he doesn't want to extend beyond 2024. Not confident with the offer. Chelsea, City, Real in CFC held talks about him in Qatar. Milan refused Chelsea's offer, 70 million euros. They want 150 million euros, the amount of the release clause. Well, your release clause becomes non-existent if he doesn't decide to extend the contract and then he just waits it out. Then what? Then you're going to be forced to scrap in whatever you can get for this player. And he might be leaving him in a shit position. Let's be serious. Just to get out the door. Ultimately, if he signs the extension, Chelsea will still have to negotiate. And ultimately, the release clause will still be there. Potentially. So maybe he's trying to make it easier for people to come and get him. Now, was January an option for Rafael Leao to Chelsea? I'm not too sure is the answer to that. I don't think so. I don't think AC Milan would even think twice for letting him leave in January, in my opinion. What do I think of him? I think he's a top player. He's a player that we need. Another player that we need. Another piece of the puzzle at this football club. And I keep saying piece of the puzzle because there's many other pieces of the puzzle that we still need to sort out. I'm just not too sure about the January. It goes on to say here that we had 60 million refused. Milan still want 128 million, which is his release clause. Leao doesn't want to extend beyond 2024, is what Pies has said there. What else have we got? Chelsea are leading the way in the pursuit of Rafael Leao, and no other club can come close to challenging them. With his contract situation going unresolved and fans increasingly anxious, his future appears to lie away from Italy because he's not agreeing to extend his contract. He also goes on to say that Maldini and Massara have had hoped to have an agreement in place with Leao before the World Cup to fend off Chelsea, but now AC Milan supporters are fearful of an exit. Common sense. They haven't been able to get it done. Rafael Leao and his representatives have rejected the first offer, as we already know, with long-term owners Chelsea keeping a very close eye. I mean, that was a great goal, by the way. He scored there. What else have we got? And this is the interesting one, which is going to lead me to the next article, which we're going to go to. Graham Potter, and this is today's update, yeah? Graham Potter is reportedly in love with Rafael Leao, and he will make an effort to persuade Chelsea's hierarchy to put in a bid to sign the 85 million player. Now, will Chelsea do this? This is another option. I'm just trying to give you options in your heads. I don't think it's going to happen till summer, but maybe this could happen. Bro is injured. Leao hasn't signed the contract. He opens talks with Chelsea in January. Chelsea laid down some serious money in January to bring him across. Utilizes him in the system, probably as probably as an extra forward, rather than buying another striker. But ultimately, you've got him here. I don't think ultimately it could still work with Aubameyang and Sterling. Don't get me wrong, but it doesn't still solve the issue with the striker unless your intentions are to play him forward, which is what we've heard. Potentials of him being used as a number 9. I don't want to see him being used as a number 9. He's a dribbler. He's a creator. He can score goals from the wing. Kind of what Mbappe's doing at France, where he runs off the wing and cuts inside. I like that. That's the position they should be at. That's where they're the most dangerous. Leao playing as a striker, I think, limits the ability to be able to dribble, to take players on. I don't want him to be the focal point. I don't want him to be a number 9. Unless you're willing to switch a system, Graham Potter, and which means that you're going to just go commit to sticking to a system that you want to play, i.e. the back 4, which I don't think we're equipped for, but could potentially see happening. Could he bring in Rafael Leao in January? Could they bring Rafael Leao in January? Spend the money, commit to him. He commits to us. Get an agreement with AC Milan, forces himself out the door. Could that happen? And then we don't sign a striker because we just wait for Broja in the summer, and Kunku's going to be here as well in the summer as well. There's your 2 strikers. Could we do that and just bring in Leao as more ammunition in the forward line without the Broja and switch the system? Potentially. Could. Maybe. I don't know. But it's definitely one food for thought for me, That article that the article that Simon Phillips had brought up in regards to Graham Potter's love for Leao is here, and it goes on to say that when you are a footballer, pause this. When you are a footballer player, when you are a footballer player, and you are being described as the potential heir to Ronaldo, then you know you are about to become mega. Ronaldo is one of the best ever players to play the game, and will be considered. We know all this. So to be named as the heir for the Portuguese national team is the best possible compliment you can get as a footballer. That is what has happened with AC Milan's Rafael Leao in an article written by an Italian reporter for the Daily Mail this week. No, he goes, not only does he say that Leao is being looked at as Ronaldo here for Portugal, he also says that he can become a player like Thierry Henry, which is another major compliment. Further to this, reports claim that Graham Potter is in love with Leao and will make an effort to persuade the club hierarchy to put a bid to sign the £85 million striker. Oh, they're saying he's 85 million there. We're going to do, guys. What are Chelsea Football Club going to do with Rafael Leao? That's the real big question. I want him. I'm pretty sure everyone in the chat, over 200 of you guys here, I'm pretty sure you guys want Rafael Leao as well. Big up to AJ in the house. Hit the likes. Over 200 of you here. 200 people in the chat. Nice to see you all here. But I know we ain't got enough likes. So if you haven't hit the like button, let's get this to 100, guys. If you haven't hit the fun, please do so. Please do so. And we'll go from there. So my question to you guys is this. Leao in the summer or Leao in January? What do you think Chelsea are going to do? He hasn't signed that contract. He's not extended. Will he commit to coming to Chelsea in January? What do we think? Yes or no? Isn't Leao transfer value earned around 80 to 100 million anyway? Supposedly, actually a little bit more in terms of them wanting the release clause. But if he forces himself out, maybe he becomes an option. So there you go. I've read 2 articles for you in the back to back on Simon Phillips in regards to Rafael Leao. The fact that Chelsea Football Club are looking for a striker in January. What are they going to do? Simon Phillips seems to think in his article that it will be, again, the same rift of what we have been seeing for a while. Young players being brought through into a new era moving forward, which means, do we have to give them time? Do we have to give Chelsea Football Club the time to grow these players? These are the things that we are we're going to have to wait and see. And this January window is going to be really fun, and I'm going to be covering it. We're going to get Ben Jacobs on here. We're going to get Pies on here. We're going to try and, we're going to get people on, and we're going to talk about it. So I'm looking forward to it, man. Leao until we have a midfield signing is what we've got here. Rafael is a summer signing, realistically. Leao, Vlahovic, Sterling, and Kunku behind that front three. Yeah, this is so much money. You already said this, Dominic. Vlahovic, 80 million. Signed from Juventus. They're going to want near enough the same. Leao's going to cost us nearly 100 million. And then Kunku cost us 60, 70 million. I don't know, mate. Who are you talking about here? Who are you talking about here, bro? Anyway, let's move away because I want to talk about the midfield quickly, and then I'm going to open up the lines. I'm going to get you guys involved. Forwards, midfielders, and we're on to midfielders next. And I want to go through the options that Chelsea have to target in the summer window, not potentially the January. But we'll say January and summer, and we'll debate whether we think, or if it could or couldn't potentially happen. And we're going to start with the obvious one, right? This guy. Now, is it going to happen? Declan Rice to Chelsea. A lot of Chelsea fans seem confident. A lot of journalists seem confident that this will happen. Ultimately, he had a good World Cup. He's a player that probably we would benefit massively from in terms of the position he plays. I think he can play as a lone DM. I also think he can play in a pivot or a 6 if we decide to play a 4-2-3-1. And I also think he can actually play a bit further forward because he's that progressive, Declan Rice. Great option. It's going to cost 70 million. West Ham are willing to listen to offers for him in the summer. This one will be a summer signing if Chelsea are going to do it. Apparently, he's at the top of Chelsea's list. So be it, from what we've been told at the moment. We have to wait and see maybe in January if we get any hints of any midfielders that we could potentially be linked to as well. I can't do that, Galib. I haven't got Instagram on my screen. It's only on my phone, mate. I can't have a look at it, unfortunately. Just bring up what you've got there and just put it in the chat if you can, copy and paste. And I'll take a look for you. Next is Declan Rice. Yes, please. Could Declan Rice could also move into a centre-back role, is what Lee's saying. He's versatile. He's versatile. It's going to cost you 70 million. You can play in the 6. You can play in the DM. He allows you to switch to a 4 system more comfortably. He gives us the tool to play the 4 system. But they want at least 70 million from him. What if West Ham get relegated? Do we get him cheaper? Yeah, but they're not getting relegated. And then also, ultimately, and this is what I want to talk about, Nick, because as much as we need that DM that everyone keeps saying, we need a DM that's going to break the play down. I get that. We also need more in the midfield. We need someone that's going to be that creative spark. Someone that can create from the deep line. Declan Rice is progressive and he can make them passes, so he can still do it. But ultimately, still not enough. I think Kovacic, we can do it. The only thing with me with Kovacic is I do think he's still inconsistent in the final third with his last pass. Don't think he is an out-and-out creator. I think he's a very good progressor and an all-round good player. But I'm not 100% sure if it's just Kovacic and Rice will do it. I think we need more. And we're going to look at other options and we're going to discuss that. Don't know if anyone watches Declan Rice versus France and still thinks, nah, I don't see it. Don't know anyone watches Declan Rice versus France and still thinks, nah, I don't see it. Oh, you're saying he's played well then, the medic. Okay, fairs. I agree with this. And this is what we're going to get to now. Rice will be the quickest impact because he's familiar and can pass decent. He looks forward. He does. And in terms of transitions, would move forward quicker with Declan Rice in the team. However, he's still not enough. I keep telling people this. Just getting one player is not enough. And again, what system are we going to play? How are we going to utilize Declan Rice in the team? 4-3-3, 4-2-3-1. What are we going to do? Ultimately, it's going to cost us 70 million. He's a good option. He's probably up on top of Chelsea's list when it comes to midfielders. But there is more. And we're going to talk about some of the other options. Yes or no. Now, this guy, apparently Chelsea are very fond of and very interested of. What can this guy bring to the team? Well, we see it in the World Cup again. He's a workhorse. He's your typical number 8. He's progressive. He can move the ball forward. Still very young. I think he's a very good player. I'll be honest with you. I just don't think he's coming to Chelsea. I think he would prioritise Liverpool. I even think he'd prioritise Real Madrid over us. We have the money. I just don't think we're in as close as we was, unless we're not going to get a Declan Rice and we just get him in and we go for someone a bit lower as a DM, potentially. I like Bellingham. I think he's a very good player. And ultimately, again, he's a player that we kind of do need. Box to box, creates, drives from deep, attacks the spaces. Very good in that. Yeah, I think he'll go. I think he'll go Liverpool. This is the thing. I think he will definitely go Liverpool. Bellingham and Rice's partnership for Chelsea, sheesh, but I think Bellingham will go. I agree. And that's why we brought it up. Anyway, now, Jed, move on. We ain't getting Bellingham. I agree. No, rather promote Cassidy than Jude Bellingham, is what Tobago's saying. I don't want Jude for 100 million. Again, another big thing. Price tag. I don't see Chelsea signing Jude Bellingham for the price tag that he is, they're calling for. However, Todd Bowley and Egbali are out there, and are supposedly, from reports, are very interested in the signs in the likes of someone like Bellingham. However, I don't think it's both ways when it comes to Jude Bellingham. Now, who else could we potentially be linked to, or should we be looking at? Well, here's another one. Edson Alvarez. Now, I'm going to be honest with you guys. He's going to cost us probably, 40 mil? Potentially. He could happen in January. He wants Chelsea, this guy. He does. Ultimately, I still don't think he's that good. I think he gives us that break of play and this, that, and the other. I'm still conscious on his overall work engine. I think he's good at breaking up play, making passes, slowing the game down, which is what we want. We want someone that can control from the middle, right? I just don't know whether he's the one, Edson Alvarez, for Chelsea. I'm not 100% sure, or if I'm too sold on it. Everyone keeps talking about Benacer as well. Yeah, look, I'll bring him up. Let's bring him up as well. People keep saying about him. Let's bring him up as well. Yeah, but what are your thoughts on Edson Alvarez, guys? Again, he's going to be more on the cheaper side. Don't get me wrong. I just don't feel 100% sold on him, though. And I'll probably go with Nomadic. He's just not my first choice. I don't think he's the one that comes into Chelsea and we completely change. I think he solves it a little bit, solves what we need, but I don't think he's enough. I think we probably need another one on top of another one. While we're talking about new signings, my idol, my MM, big up to Guy in the house. Nice to see you. So yeah, he could happen in January. He could happen in the summer. He wants Chelsea. Depends what Ajax want for him. Will Chelsea go down that route of getting him signed? But I'm not too sure. I'm not too sure with the Premier League. I don't know whether he's quick enough, if he's sharp enough, if he's it's intense, the Premier League, man. That's the only thing that worries me with him. Let's bring him up. Benacer. Ismail Benacer is another player that's being linked to Chelsea. And again, would AC Milan look to let him go? Look, I haven't watched enough of him, not going to lie. So I can't talk too much on this one. I've heard that his stats and his tallies are good. His heat map, obviously, controls the game, moves the ball pretty well. Not watched enough of him to fully understand, again, what we can get from him. Ruben Neves, obviously, is another good shout. Yeah, the risk is low. It is. But it's, again, how much is it going to cost? That's another thing. I think Paulinho stays at Fulham, even though I think he's a good option. I think we should have gone for him. Achraf wants him. He says this is his guy. Another one. Again, what is his market value? What would Benacer cost? Let's have a look. Ismail Benacer transfer market. Let's have a look. So I'll tell you now. The transfer market value for him is 40 mil. 40 mil is what AC Milan. Well, he's 24. He's still young. 40 mil. Again, a good option. Maybe not the only option. Again, a bit like Edson Alvarez, I think he's going to cost the same. And it'll be an interesting one to see. Anguissa, Amrabat, he's been good. Amrabat's been very good, actually. I like him. Again, with Amrabat, I'm just not sure about the physicality side of it. But, however, he breaks up play very well. He's quick and he deals with it well. Another one that would be linked at quite heavily is Lavia. Now, this boy is good. Very good. Be linked with him as well. He's an interesting one for me because I do rate him. I think he's a good player. Again, ultimately, he's still very young. Obviously, 18 years old. That wouldn't surprise me if Chelsea do this. However, again, I don't think he's enough on his own. Now, if you're going to look to sign a player like him, obviously he came from City, gone to Southampton. It's going to cost you around 25 to 30 million at an 18-year-old. I don't think that's too bad. It brings you depth, brings you quality. And I think him as an option in the Chelsea team to grow, again, the era, like Simon Phillips said earlier, the new era of what Chelsea are trying to do in bringing all these young players through and pushing them, kicking them on with these incentives and their contracts. Maybe he's a good option at a later stage. And he's Premier League proven. He plays Premier League. So, again, another good option for Chelsea is him. Could we get it done in January? Potentially. But again, I think maybe a summer for Latvia would be more interesting. Again, options. We have options, guys. Now, I see a lot of people crying out for Caicedo. Now, he is on my list to talk about. Another player who is balling out of Brighton. Now, my only issue with him is he's a good player. You know, there's nothing wrong with the player himself. It's going to be market value, and it's going to be trying to buy another player off Brighton. Seems like we're just taking all of Brighton's players. You know what I mean? It's a weird one for me because, again, you know, his market value. Let's have a look at his market value. His market value is probably in and around. Where's it gone? There we go. At 38 to 40 mil. You could go for Latvia at 25, or you can get yourself a Caicedo for 38, and Edson Alvarez for around 40 million. Declan Rice is going to be 70. You know, we spoke about Jude Bellingham, who's going to be a lot higher than all of them. I don't see that happening. You know, Caicedo, a good option. Are Brighton going to let him go? He's playing very well. I'm not too sure. I'm not too sure. Again, that's the other thing. We're hearing Jorginho and Kante want to extend their contracts, and Chelsea are willing to do that. Why? No, we shouldn't be doing that. Let one of them go at least. I can't have both of them extending their contracts. We need to improve that area for me. So, again, I need to see that midfield sorted in the summer. See, you have a buyback clause on Latvia, apparently. So, that's interesting. Maybe they will do that if that's the case. He has been very good. Well, you say that, but the transfer market, I was just looking at the market value for him. I mean, Caicedo's probably played himself into 80 million. They'll probably charge out. I don't think they will. I think it'll be around 40 to 50 mil, in my opinion, for him. But yeah, that's another one. And then it comes to my favourite. My favourite. This is my out and out favourite guy. This guy has been running it for me. He is, I'm telling you now, I'm going to say this. Whoever signs Enzo Fernandez, and I don't even know if Chelsea even linked to him. I don't think we are. I think Liverpool have been, and Real Madrid and whatever. This guy is the ultimate, like for me, in terms of physicality, the progressiveness, the ability to understand the role, the ability to be able to shoot outside the box. This guy is a baller. This guy is a baller. And I'm telling you, there's something in this boy that once he gets that next big step, that next big move to a big club, I think he's going to take off. I'd love him to be at Chelsea. Ultimately, again, I don't think he's just him you sign. I think you'd still need to sign someone else, and you probably have to do it on the lower end because he's going to cost you a good over 100 million or 80 to 90 million. I can't remember what it was for Enzo Fernandez. But Enzo Fernandez is a top player, man. He really is. I mean, what he's doing at the World Cup as well, and being played in a deeper role. We've seen him being played in an 8 role, very effective, can do it. Great, you know, the pass, the progressiveness, the always looking forward. He's so good with the ball at his feet. The ability to shoot outside the box on target consistently. He is a baller. I'm telling you. It's a shame because his release clause is 120 million. I know, Waldo. I know. But my preference would be this boy. I want him because I think him plus, you know, another individual as a DM and Kovacic as your midfield, and maybe you keep one of Jorginho or Kante, would really give you so much strength in the midfield. And I mean, he's a big lad. He's a big physical lad. No, I don't believe that. I think that's a load of bollocks, to be honest. I don't know where that came from. He's a big physical lad, and I rate him, man. It's a shame because they want him at Chelsea, and I know we're not going to do it. But anyway, we move. Now, look, I'm going to put the link in the chat because I did promise you guys to come in for the next half an hour. So guys have got half an hour to come in and have your say. So here you go. Get involved. I'd rather see us go for Enzo than fight for Bellingham. 100%. GB. I'll big up to you, man. Enzo Fernandez is the answer for Chelsea, along with others, because I don't think it's just him we need. And this is why I keep saying with the Chelsea midfield, whoever we sign is still not enough. We need at least 2 midfielders. I don't want to just have Jorginho and Kante extending their contracts. It's not enough. We don't even know what N'Golo Kante is going to come back from injury. Is he going to still have the same issues? Jorginho should be starting all the games that he starts, in my opinion. Give him the option to be a sub. Rotation. Yeah, rotation's cool. Done. Links in the chat. Anyone wants to get involved, click the link and let's go. Enzo, Declan, Kante. Don't do this to me. Can you imagine this? Enzo, Declan, Kovacic. 4-3-3. Or you do a 4-2-3-1, right? Do you know what? You're getting me excited now. Look, I'm going to do one. This is my... Do you know what? Before people come in. This... I'm going to bring it up now. This is my ultimate Chelsea dream team. Here we go. You're going to disagree with me. Some of you might agree with me. But this is what I think we need to do, right? I think we need to play a 4-2-3-1, but not like that. Fucking hate. That is the most awful 4-2-3-1 I've ever seen. So, anyway, just imagine that these two midfielders are in the middle, guys, yeah? I don't know why it's done that. Why does it do that? That's it. All right, imagine it's something like that, but the 3 is a 3 in the line, yeah? Like in front of them, not like this. 4-2-3-1, all right? In goal... I don't know. Kepa is probably going to be in goal, right? For now. I still think we need to... By the way, we've not even spoke about it yet. We need a goalie. We need a goalie. Because Mendy at the moment, I don't know what's happened to him. And it's just frustrating. I thought he was the man. Kepa is not number 1 for me. We need a goalie. But we'll get to that another day. Reece James. This is my 11. Reece James. Cucurella. Koulibaly. Fana. Now, people would say, why haven't you got Thiago Silva in there? I'm just going on the basis that Thiago Silva is no more at Chelsea, all right? I'm going on the basis that he's not here. I'm here, bruv. I am here. You missed my show as well. Nomadic, I'll bring you in a second. Just stay back there. I'm just doing something, all right? This is what I would do with Chelsea. Give Jem the keys. Trust me. I will make us successful. But I wouldn't have Kepa in goal. I would have someone else. I'd buy someone. But we can talk about another day. Kovacic. Oh, do you know what? We can do this, actually. Enzo Fernandez. Declan Rice. Sorry, Kovacic. Right? Do that. And then I would have... You ready for this, right? Leao. Sterling. And Kunku. And then I would probably throw in... Oh, this is the hard bit, isn't it? I'm going to do this to piss people off. Havertz! Kai Havertz is the best on earth. The silky German is all that we need. He won Chelsea, the champion. Oh, God, that'll make people laugh. Listen, even if we didn't have Kai Havertz, you could put... I don't know. I mean, Mount... This is the thing, isn't it? Mount's got to kind of get in that team still. But I still think we could... I think Mount would work with that anyway. That would ball still. So Mount, Havertz, whatever you want in the 10 role. 4-2-3-1. 4-2-3-1. No Kepa. I would replace Kepa, like I said. But ultimately, that is what I would do. Give me the keys. I'm telling you. And then even if you don't get both of these, right? Say we didn't get Declan Rice. Let's just say it didn't happen. I'll just throw Kovacic in, bro. Abula. Enzo and Kovacic. What you saying? And if we don't get Enzo Fernandez, yeah, then I'll put Declan Rice in there. So, baller, bruv. Let's go. Frankie de Jong's a good shout as well. Nomadic. Oh, you're gone. She's gone. right amount of friendship would be. Listen, 4-2-3-1 is what that's what I want to see in the long term. I want to see in the long term. Guys, the link's in the chat. Where are you? Come and get involved. Come and get involved if you want to have your say as well. Chilwell over Cucurella. It's just with Ben Chilwell. He's not really been playing, was he? You know, like it's just not worked, you know? I don't know. Amadik, what are you saying?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you. What are you saying?
Perfect. You want us to give you the keys to the kingdom?
Yeah, man. I think I should be giving the keys to the kingdom, innit?
I don't trust your buys.
Listen, I would win us everything. I'd be the manager. I'd be the sporting director. I'd do everything.
And you'll be the scout?
I'd do. Listen, I wouldn't need scouts. I could just do it myself. I'd do it all myself. Don't need a team, bruv.
I have a question. I know you haven't gone through it during the stream, but there have been a lot of good goalkeeping performances all through the World Cup. Are you still keen on Diogo Costa as your number one?
Okay. Is that the one for what's his name? Portugal.
Portugal.
Yeah. I don't really think he's that good. To be honest with you.
The World Cup exposed him, you think?
I actually prefer the Croatian goalie, Lukovic. Yeah, I thought he was better.
How old is he?
I don't know. Good question. Let's have a look. Why? What? I mean, tell me, what goalies are there? I don't know.
Because whether we like it or not, I don't think we can go into the next season with either Kepa or Mendy as our number one.
Nah, JP, bruv. I'm sorry. I can't have this. I disagree. He's a baller, bruv. He's physical. He's progressive. He breaks up play. He has the vision to play past difference, and he shoots outside the box. He's got ultimate shooting outside the box, and he's smashing it, mate. And he's playing in a DM role, which is not even his preferred position. I'd actually play him a little bit further forward, and he's still doing the job. He's a baller. He's a baller, Enzo Fernandez, bruv. He is a baller. Gonda from Japan. The Moroccan goalie is good. What's his name? What's his name? The guy got Bonnie, whatever his name is. Can't remember his name. Bono, that's it.
But he's 31.
How old is he?
31, I think.
Yes, 31.
Likovic is 27, apparently. I mean, what would you do, Tobago?
In terms of goalkeepers at the moment?
Yeah. Yeah, sorry, I'm just replying to this comment. Yeah.
Okay, to be honest, remember we need a goalkeeper that already knows how to play with his feet. So I don't see Bono doing that. It's awful, even that Croatia goalkeeper. So at the moment, I'm not sure because I like the Costa guy, but he made an error that made Portugal lose that game. Even though Portugal didn't do their job scoring goals, but he made one mistake and then he killed them. So overall, now at the moment, I'm not sure in terms of goalkeepers.
So you still don't know who will be your number one?
To be honest, let me just check. That's the thing. I like Sanchez, but again, if I'm going to talk about Brighton player, we will say why are we linked to Brighton players? Why are we buying a Brighton stuff and stuff? So at the moment, I see him as a potential, and I want a Premier League goalkeeper, to be honest, because I'm tired of getting foreign league goalkeepers and I'm flopping.
Yeah, but what I will say,
if you're saying you want a Premier League goalkeeper, I'm sorry I cut you off, Jam, but then you are really, that pool of choice is really going to be really, really small. Yeah. Because now you'll be talking about how many goalkeepers are there. You're definitely not going to get any of your fellow top 6, probably top 10 goalkeepers. you're not going to get the bottom 3, bottom 4 goalkeepers. So who do you have left?
Not having Martinez. He ain't number one, mate. Look, I think what you got to be careful with the World Cup is that it can be very deceiving. And I know a lot of players can have very good World Cups and then they disappear. Like the Mexican goalie, every 4 years he's just really good, and then you don't hear about him ever again. But you got to look at someone like
Respect
James
Ochoa, Jam. Respect Ochoa.
I mean, yeah, but then look at James Rodriguez, for example, right? James Rodriguez, yeah. He had a great World Cup for Colombia, yeah, and he ultimately got all his moves and whatever, and he was okay, but he was never like this amazing player, was he? Ever?
He had a really good 2 seasons at Real Madrid, and then all these coaches just started doing away with like original number 10s, and then probably his position just got phased out. I understand what you mean, and I know like the World Cup can deceive. Because even before now, not a lot of people, let's give an example, we're talking about Amrabat, and now he's probably put himself in a very good shop window, and I don't know if he's going to perform for someone else the way he's performing for Morocco.
Yeah.
Actually, I will take Amrabat because I've seen him playing for Fiorentina. He's been good there. And then I've been wondering, like, why top teams are not looking at him. So it seems like am I good now?
Yeah, go on.
Like it seems like Liverpool are about to snatch him because he's been heavily linked with Liverpool at the moment. So I don't know what our scouts are doing, but again, we need to move on from there. Let's hope under the new regime we'll scout good players going forward.
Yeah, I hear that. I mean, what are you saying, AJ? How you doing?
What's up? What's up, John? What's up, guys? It was a good stream, man. You broke it down. I like the players that you like too, so I'm glad that you put that out there.
Yeah, it's hard. I mean, who do you feel like would be the better options? Obviously, I wrote through some of the articles. I don't know if you saw it. I said about today's one from Simon Phillips where he was talking about the hierarchy, Bowley and Egbali looking to potentially bring in young prospects, still younger players, rather than spending. I'm not saying not spending the money, but they want to spend money on the youngers for the new era. I mean, does that slightly worry you, or do you think we will start looking at some of like the top marquees in certain positions as well?
I didn't read the article. So are they saying they want to do that like now this summer?
They're talking about the striker. So obviously Broja's got the injury. They're talking about the potential of bringing in a young striker rather than spending like people saying Vlahovic, for example, right? But this guy cost 80 million. Do you know what I mean? Like it's like we have to be a little bit more logical with it. Do you know what I mean? Like
now, I think first of all, we're in 8th place. I just want to put that out there. So now we lost Broja. Aubameyang hasn't really hit the ground running like that. It hasn't been the worst. He's been better than Lukaku, kind of, but Lukaku still scored some goals in that first half. So it's like we're not really getting much from Aubameyang. So I think in January, we kind of have to take the striker position serious. Like if we want to do something in the league, I think I don't like anything less than top 4, but I think minimum we should try to do is top 6, and I think if we just go in with Aubameyang, if he gets hurt now, we've seen Kai as a main 9. Like I don't know, man. I think we have to take it a little more serious than just looking towards the future.
No, I highly disagree. I'm sorry. I believe it's one of the I get what you mean, and for the last couple of seasons, like there is literally a season that J5 was our top scorer or something, literally with just penalties. So I get what you mean. But then even if we had a Haaland in this team, who's providing for Haaland, he can't feed off scraps.
No, I'm not saying in place. I'm not like my main priority was always midfield, even from the summertime. Like I'd rather midfield. I'm a midfielder. Like I'd rather that, so I focus on that. So I've been saying Declan Rice and all these guys as the main priority because that will help the team function better. We would get more out of Aubameyang if the team functioned better. you know, but the team is not functioning properly. So now Aubameyang's feeding off of scraps. So now it looks like he ain't doing nothing. But it's really the way the game is flowing. It's not helping our striker. But I'm saying now that we've lost Broja, we're probably not going to see the best of Broja now till like 2024, probably.
Shame, isn't it? It's just ridiculous.
Exactly. So it's like we might as well take the striker position serious right now, you know, because is Aubameyang a long-term position? Do you want him to be there after the summer? Exactly. So it's like we have nothing to lose, you know, but to go hard for a striker and a midfielder. Those are the two.
What about
and a right side player?
What about Rafael Leao, AJ? Do you see that happening? Even with the fact that he's not extended his contract with AC Milan, there's talks about maybe a January move for him. Do you think Leao could happen for Chelsea? Or do you think
I think he's my first choice winger option. You know, I think I was thinking more in the summer just because AC Milan's a big team. You know, they won the title. Are they in Champions League still? I think they went through with us. You know.
Yeah.
So it's like, why would he leave? You know, if I'm a player, I'm like, I'm not leaving.
He hasn't extended. You know? He hasn't extended, and that's
but he still has a contract till
summer,
2024, so he might as well finish out the season, and then he get an easier move. You know, he could probably have his choice in the summer. But for Chelsea, I would go for him this winter because we have nothing to lose. We might as well start planning for next season and get these players in. Let him play 10, 15 Premier League games. Let him play. He won't be able to play in the Champions League with us, you know. That's another reason why I'm saying I guess he'll just stay there till the summer. But he can also help us at the striker position. Like they're saying, they see him as a left-sided player, but maybe they could, you know, work with him. And that's a good thing, you know, because then when we actually get a striker, he could go back to his position. And now we're covered. So it's like it makes sense to just start planning from now, you know?
I just don't get this like whole thing of like I get it, I understand it because obviously like I keep going back to Enzo Fernandez, but like he played in the Portuguese league and he dominated. Why is that a red flag? Like you know, it doesn't mean every player that dominates in a league is not a good signing to make. You know, the players that have come from the Portuguese league and been successful in the Premier League. He's only played 13 games at Benfica. Let's wait to see if he. Listen, I just see something in it. Like, I'm not saying he's. I just see something in this. I just feel this boy would get his next big move wherever he goes in the top team, and he's just going to thrive for me. I mean, what do you say, Rodrigo? What are you saying?
Yeah, I think I agree with the lady on the panel. I don't think I can go as far as saying we don't need to bring in any strikers. I think our big issue now is creativity. The biggest issue we have is a midfielder and a right back. People are not talking enough about this right back situation. We haven't signed a midfielder since 2018. I think Kovacic is the last midfielder that we actually signed, and a right back. We don't have any cover for Reece James, and we know when James is down, we started putting weird people at right back. We putting Ashby, Loftus-Cheek in that position. We shouldn't have these people playing there. I think we go out in January, we get a midfielder. Preferably it would be a DM, and then actually we need two midfielders. We need a creative midfielder and a DM. I was crying for McAllister from Brighton. People laughing, he's a Brighton player, but I think he's a quality player. And knowing our manager, like he knows his game, maybe that could help him. Because I've got no. I'll be honest with you guys. I've got no confidence in Graham Potter right now. I think he's a bang average manager. So he needs so much help. So we need to get him to players that he's familiar with. So get him McAllister, get him. I'm really. I've got no confidence in the gaffer. I think he's out of his depth. I think Chelsea's too big for him.
Why would you say that you don't think we need another striker? Like what? I know. Like, do you not feel with Broja out that, especially in a period where we're going to be playing a lot of games, Rodrigo, in that period? So what we're saying? Like,
look back at Broja. He didn't offer us anything, even when he was here. I thought
we're in 8th place.
Yeah, even when he played, he didn't offer us anything. So having him in the team or not in the team, I don't see any difference. I think maybe I just feel like. When he was playing, I didn't see what he was. He was just running around. He scored one goal, fair enough, but he wasn't doing anything. And Aubameyang is not doing anything either. I think we need to the striker position. is almost like one that we need to have our head. We need to have a cool head. Do it in the summer. We shouldn't rush into it because, bro,
we've got Nkunku coming anyway in the summer. So
yeah,
that's
so I don't think we need a striker. I think Chelsea we like so obsessed with strikers and centre backs. We always go for striking centre backs. I think for once we need to calm down by getting 2 midfielders, one creative midfielder and one defensive one, and then from there
you ain't doing that in January, Rodrigo.
Yeah, we should do that in January and a right
You're
back.
not doing that though. You're not doing that. That's not going to happen. I'm telling you
now.
Who would you like? Who would you like? Give me.
Who do you think we can sign in the January window?
So what I would like
is
Enzo for a deep line.
Enzo getting him
in January.
We ain't getting him in January.
We know. McAllister just extended his contract with Brighton.
Yeah, we ain't getting McAllister. So who else are we getting in January?
Alvarez is rubbish. I watch him.
It's not as easy as is it. Like people don't realize it.
That's why I like to ask people, give me names.
I agree. We need midfielders. Like if we can get someone in, I know Edson Alvarez is committed to just coming Chelsea, and he's even said January. He said in January that Chelsea might revisit Edson Alvarez. I ain't fully sold on the guy, but I do think he will give us something, still. But
but it's hard. If we're to get striker, I'll just probably go for Mitrovic from Fulham.
He's going to cost you because again, he's having a good season and he's the best player.
Yeah, and
this is the thing. This is what I was trying to explain to everyone earlier on in the show. When I said to people, let's be realistic about January and strikers. And when we sat here and I said to you as well, I like Ivan Toney, but he's going to cost Chelsea 50 million. If Chelsea spend 50 million on Ivan Toney, he doesn't then become second striker. For me, he then becomes
Jam, why are you so obsessed with Toney? There is no club in the world is touching Toney with him having betting issues of 270.
I'm just giving you an example of someone.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
So what I'm trying to say is Mitrovic, Toney, any of these top quality players that are having good seasons for their clubs across Europe are going to cost us a bit of bucks. So then what do you do? And this is why when I read Simon Phillips' article earlier, it kind of made sense. He said that Chelsea are looking for a striker, but they're looking for a young striker.
Even then,
they don't want to spend that kind of money because they've got Nkunku coming in the window, in the summer window. Who's going to
no young strikers out there, Jem.
Well, Moukoko is one of them. He's
there's no young strikers that we know of. I'm sorry I cut you off. There is a reason why scouts are being paid for. There is a reason Brighton, I'm just giving an example. I'm not saying that's what we do. There is a reason they're going to South America, all these other countries, and they're getting gems. And then they're coming, once they're in the Premier League, they sell them for 3, 4, 5 times the amount they paid for. There is a reason we have scouts. Not necessarily all names should be all the people we've heard of. I get what everyone says about Chelsea and everything, but then even the way some of the people are talking and just say, go get Trossard, go get McAllister, go get Sanchez, the Brighton goalkeeper. I feel like that's just lazy scouting. That's just lazy scouting just because we got a Brighton manager, then we should go and pick off all their team. It's just lazy. And we've been doing that since Emenalo left. We've just been lazy at scouting. There is a time we were getting gems from Belgium and all this golden generation. Chelsea had like half of them.
There's only one gem. Remember that. Like he said, there's only one.
But that's how I feel. I don't know if I'm just waffling, but
right.
I feel it's really, really lazy.
Do you think they were watching this World Cup, like looking for players? Or...
Yeah, why are they out there? They're trying to scout everything. Players
better. Endo, the Japanese midfielder. I thought it was Tidy DM, but
I would not be shocked if we went for some random players
that we've
not even heard across the World Cup.
I want to know who Potter like. Like, who does Potter like?
He doesn't know.
Who's a striker he likes? Who's a midfielder he likes? Who's a defender that he likes? Like, what's his personality?
Don't know nothing, bro. Don't know nothing.
We don't know nothing. He's like he's a robot right now.
That goes back to what I said again earlier, where it mentioned about Chelsea and the ball. They want not 1 or 2 options; they want variety of options, and they tend to do that in equally every position when they're looking to look around. So they'll build up the prospects, and then they'll probably sit with Graham Potter and say, "Look, we've got 4 or 5 players who we're going to try for. Some of them we might not be able to get now, but others we might be able to go for. What do you think? Do you think they'll work? Do you think they'll fit your system? They'll do their data analytics that they supposedly said they're going to be doing at this football club, on whether they'll fit what we're trying to do. And then the decision ultimately will be made. And that's where the pressure is going to come on the board specifically, because they're going to bring players in that may not be top marquees, that may be players that we half know or aware of. And then it's going to be down to them to then kick on. But Declared, what are you saying?
Kick up, bro.
What are you saying, my man? How you been?
I'm kind of surprised you guys still talking about Chelsea, man. I was happy to just forget about Chelsea for a month, and now everyone's talking mad about transfers. I mean, why? I mean, if we've all, I mean, I heard this argument. If we all think that this is some kind of project, and we're building and the process and all that, why are we going hard on players in January? January is a desperate month. You know that you're going to overpay. You're going to offer them big wages. You're not going to get your first choice. You're probably going to get your 10th choice. Why are we going all out? Why do you guys want to go all out in January? Because I don't think it's going to happen. And I just want to see that this should, I mean, there's not much to salvage in this season. I think we should just see if Potter can work it out. Maybe if he can, and then go all out in preseason.
I disagree with you.
I think there's a lot to salvage because one, we're still 8th. If you look at the table, if you win 2-3 games, you are back in the top 4. And another thing, a lot of those players, that's if the other teams all lose
2-3 games.
That's fine. No one is going to go on a. I know the mood is bad here, but also let's not be weird and be also realistic. And the thing is, all these good players or our first option players that we think we can get in the summer, if we're not in that top 4, one, how many do you think are going to come for us? Exactly. And 2, how do you not think that will make us pay even more top dollar for them to come to a Europa League team in the summer? There's a lot to salvage. There is a reason you buy 1 or 2 players in the January window to help salvage the rest of the season.
I got an answer
we might
for
not think we're the best 4th squad in the country, but then that top 4 is gonna help us attract a lot of players come the summer.
Yeah, yes. and you said that. So this team is good enough to get top 4, yeah, because they've done it how many seasons now, right? With the manager, right? This team is a top 4 team. So salvaging top 4 is capable with the team we have. We actually bought a lot, right? So it's actually an improved team compared to the ones quite a few seasons ago. So we've hit top 4. So if Potter can't get top 4 with this group of players, then maybe it shows something with the manager and not necessarily buy so many players just to get top 4. When I mean salvage, can we go far in the Champions League? Can we challenge for the title? If it's just top 4 and we can buy all these players and still not maybe make top 4, right? Because
it's not everything.
It takes a while. It takes a while to come in. These players won't hit the ground running. They're younger players. Have a good might as well get and they're not going to be first choice players. I'd rather wait for the end of the season, right? Get your first choice players. Have a good preseason and kick it off properly. January is a desperate month.
If we can get Raphael, if we could get Leao in the January, you think that's not a first choice player?
Leao is gonna help us, bro.
Leao, you're gonna get Leao, and it might be a first choice player, but you're gonna pay so much.
Listen, we don't know we're not gonna just assume.
You're gonna pay the same in summer though. Doesn't matter when you get him. It's gonna cost.
We're not gonna assume
you get him in January.
No, Jim. I mean, any team, you're gonna hinder AC Milan season. Any player you go for, if they're having a decent season, they don't want to lose that momentum, right? They're not going to give up players easily and for cheap. You're going to have to compensate them by a lot. It's always the case. This is normal. This is the norm.
Isn't Ziyech linked with Milan? These things, there are possibilities. There's possibilities. We're not just going to sit on the stream and just rule out what the thing. These are possibilities that we need to discuss and that Chelsea needs to discuss.
Of course, I'm not saying don't talk about it. What I'm saying is that I'd rather not go all out in January to salvage top 4, and if it's a financial fee.
Declared. What is the meaning all out to you?
Exactly. What does that?
Sorry, what's the meaning of? I missed it.
What is the meaning to you of all out? To you, I'm asking you because you keep saying all out, all out. What does that mean specifically to you?
So probably all out is the amount of money we throw right?
Yeah.
And how many players? Do you know what I mean? Like so Leao's. If Leao, the difference is if Leao came from January or to end of the season, there could be a massive price difference in wage. You're going to have to overcompensate just because it's a January transfer. So he might be your first choice, but you're going to have to pay so much. And then if you're looking for a midfielder, and then I heard Rodriguez say about right back, and if we're going to go all out, it's the amount we're going to spend on how many players. If you saw what the season, yeah.
Right, so I don't think the January window allows you to go all out, in my opinion, because a lot of the times the players that you do kind of want at your football club are either tired or are doing very well at their clubs in progressive, parts of the stages or wherever they are at their clubs, and at that point, football clubs are going to hold on to their best players, and a lot of the big players, you're right, they won't come, and I don't think Chelsea will go all out because they won't. For me, they're not going to be able to get their targets anyway. But my point being with Rafael Leao is that he hasn't extended his contract before he left the World Cup. He's kind of left the door open a little bit in the January window for Chelsea to now go and knock on the door and negotiate.
Liking the social media, all of that stuff.
Yeah, exactly. They all lead to something. I'm not saying we're going to get him in January. I still don't think it's possible, personally. I think he is a summer signing, in my opinion. However, we can't rule out that Chelsea may not entertain it or try and get a deal done now, like they did with Nkunku, in terms of getting it done for the summer. Maybe they will react to doing the same thing, is what I'm saying. So it could be that we do a lot of business in the January window, not for January window, but for the summer window. So you might see us doing quite a bit, but only just because we can negotiate. Does that make sense?
That's the same thing. And I'll explain my point even further. Where I agree, and I was talking more of the talk that's been happening here and around. I don't think Chelsea would get many players, but at the same time, I think Bowley is unpredictable. I think he can go all out. I agree with if it was other circumstances. I think when it comes to Bowley, and I think trying to make the same impression he did at the start, he might actually throw a lot more money in this January season because, I mean, the Potter was probably his choice. He has to make this look good. So there are factors I can see it going all out, right? But when we talk about how can we fix the team to go forward, I don't think Leao on his own can just transform the team and pick it up and go. So we need a number of players, yeah.
We need a manager.
I agree.
Numbers.
So So if there's at least 3 players you guys want that's going to transform this team, and you've guys gone through the different players, and you go, oh, this guy will be great. And Jim, you just made your dream team before, and to make that happen, that could be all out, right? In the January window, if you wanted it now, right? And to transform this team, we need probably 3 good players, and you're talking about, I don't know, close to 200 mil, right? And that's all out for me. And then what we're going to get out of the season might not be worth it. And these players might not hit the ground running. They might need time, right? It's just they're going to be on big wages. You have to overcompensate. I'd rather just see a fresh start at the end of the season, have a good preseason, and even if we're not in the Champions League, or I hope we'll be out of Euro. Just have one season without Europe, and just watch the team flow, nice rest, less injuries, and build from there. And I think we can.
Yeah, but do you not think we're going to go all out in the summer anyway? So even if we don't do it in the
that's what I'm saying, Jim. I'd rather see that than January. Does that make sense? I agree with some of the players that you guys analyze. I just rather see it done in
but declared
the season.
My point was, if I'm not saying, and I'm not speaking for everyone, but I don't think the 5-6 of us who are speaking here are saying that we are probably going to spend 100-200 million in the January window. I don't think that's what we're saying. I think my point is the market is not always linear. Things happen. No one, I'm giving an example. No one thought that Juventus, the whole board was going to resign and there's going to be turmoil there. So now an opportunity has risen where a club can probably get Vlahovic, Probably now the Milan, we're just giving hypotheticals. Probably now the Milan board is thinking, Leao is Leao is not gonna probably sign at the summer. He's gonna have just one year left on it. It's a lot of ifs and buts. That's what we're trying to say. But 2, if you don't buy now when an opportunity arises in January, point being an opportunity arises and you miss out on top 4 in the summer, if you were going to overpay by 10 million in January, what do you think you're gonna do? If this player was gonna get 150 per week in salary, he was coming to a Champions League team. But now he can have a better negotiating point, being I'm coming to a Europa League team and you need me more. You need me to elevate and help your team.
Let me
the players might not want to come
touch
if you don't have Champions League anyway. So
but Jim, there's a little it's inaccurate, right? That statement is almost inaccurate. I've seen it being used a lot, right? If you're not, we are a Champions League team because of the amount of times we qualify, right? If one season we don't qualify, players don't look at that and go, "Oh, they're not in it." They know that if we miss out one time, we're in it the next.
Capping. You're really
no.
How many players have we seen?
How many players have we signed
to come really to like Chelsea at that point?
Well, we've signed how many good players when we weren't in Champions League? Yeah,
and how did we compensate? We compensated by paying more.
We didn't.
For their
we still got those players.
More in there. No, I'm saying, please listen. How did we compensate by getting them? We paid more for them, and then we
paid more by competition. It's not by compensating.
Please listen, let me finish. We paid more for their fee to get them, and we paid them higher wages, and that's why our thing was so bloated, because you're overcompensating for them coming to a Europa League team for that year.
Okay, I'll go now.
Yeah.
Let me answer your question and let me finish on this one, right? You just said that the market's linear, not linear, and this and that. So are wages. Wages are affected by marketing, competition, age. There's so many factors. To just say that we overcompensated just on Champions League and you started players that won't come, right? And even if they do come, and we go by your theory, and if they overcompensate, that means they're still coming to a non-Champions League team for it, right? But the players don't look at it and go, "Oh, they're in Europa." They look at what the team is. If you're like Man United, where you haven't made Champions League for a long time, that is a Europa team. That's how they look at it. But if one season we're not in Champions League, right? They know that we're going to be in Champions League the next season, right?
It's not even.
It's like a track record, right?
Yeah.
So players don't judge from one season, and we don't overcompensate on money. But the wage compensation is factored by heaps of other factors, and the Champions League is very little, and that might only affect bonuses which are applied. So if you want to spend hundreds of millions just to make top 4, and the money we're going to get from TV rights from Champions League don't even come close. So I think there are little factors compared to other ones.
There is one real other key thing that we're forgetting as well, and it's called competition for players. Because when you look at what happened with Chris and Kunku and how quick we moved on that, you think if we would have left it to summer that he wouldn't have had Real Madrid, Man City, Liverpool, Man United all knocking on the door for that release clause? Of course they would have. Most clubs would. It opens up the door for competition, and a lot of the reasons why it's good to move for your main targets earlier, if a door opens slightly, is partly because of that, because it relieves the competition for players, and that's the other real big thing when it comes to signing footballers. It's
great point, and that's what I was gonna say.
I want to say something about the big elephant. Is the manager good enough? My problem, this manager is not good enough. I think
it's not an elephant you've been talking about.
Young players, forget about these big name players, Leao. All these big names that we're talking about, he's not going to handle them in the dressing room. We need to get him a young team. We need to promote people from the academy, have a young team, forget about top 4. Just focus on building a team that will play in his image. If you get these players that are too big for him, he doesn't have that.
Why you say that? Why do you say that? Like, give me some points, some real thoughts. Why do you think that?
Sterling. He can never drop Sterling. On top of that, you bring in another big name.
Bro, it's been 20 games. It's been 15 games. What are you talking about?
AJ, you know why we can say that is because we haven't seen it before from him.
I understand.
And how are you ever going to?
But it's too final. Then you're talking about it.
Do you know why I also squash that as well when people do say that? Because what is it that we're bringing off the bench to play anyway? What's exactly equally better from the bench?
Exactly.
Games, bro. We have no team right now.
I know, Jim, but I still rate this team as a top 4 team.
They are
around there, not an 8 team.
You can't moan about a manager playing players if the whole fucking team's inconsistent, and they all are. So there's no point of taking off Tom
and a lot of change.
And then you get the same shit, is it? It's the same thing.
I agree, but I can't exclude Potter from that equation. He might be the factor of all that too.
Listen, Graham Potter for me,
he might be the factor that the rest of the wingers weren't playing well even before Potter came. He might be the factor that they were highly inconsistent even when we had one of the exactly.
People forgot how bad it was getting under
saying
Tuchel.
That he has Potter made mistakes during his couple of months here. He has, but why are we pretending like if Sterling was out of form, then the rest of the wingers that are supposed to challenge him were supposed to take that opportunity and remove him out of the team? But if they're also not playing well, what did you all want Tuchel and Potter to do?
But they're not playing. How can they had good games and then what? Guess what?
Yeah, but it wasn't just them though. It's the whole team, Rodrigo. It wasn't just Sterling, was it? How bad was the whole team?
Players, man.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. Let me just say this, right? One second. Let me just really say this real quickly. I agree when it comes to Raheem Sterling because I've even said on Chelsea Fan TV and that he needs to play better. He needs to step up. He needs to do more in his own self. And I've watched him. I've been to games where I've watched him and he's been ineffective and it hasn't worked and he should have been subbed. Where I agree with you when it comes to Graham Potter in terms of this is that he seems to make late substitutions too late. So when things ain't working in the way that we started the game, he needs to recognise that it's not working or a player's just not at it today and then avert to the bench. Now, I don't really have much faith in our bench. I'll be honest with you. I think we have numbers, but I still don't think we have the quality. And I'm talking about the forward line. Christian Pulisic deserves more minutes, but equally he's inconsistent. Hakim Ziyech doesn't want to play for this football club. So, you know, Havertz has been inconsistent.
It's deep. The problems run deep, man. It's not just
problems.
I agree, but this team should be playing a lot better, even with those factors than we are now, right? And I mean, I don't even know how Potter wants to play. I can't see a way of he's trying to play to say, you know what, he's missing this and this and that, but it'll come together. He keeps switching it up. He doesn't even know how he wants to play, and I think that's part of the issue because he doesn't even know.
But maybe he was trying to find his best team. Have you all just? And I'm not trying to be
how long has it been?
But just a minute. One, since Potter came, has he had what the fan base thinks is our best 11 all fit? He hasn't. Maybe, just maybe, he's chopping and changing, which I really don't like. But he's chopping and changing, trying to find his best team. He hasn't found his best team yet. And then most of our starting 11 or 5 of them kept on falling down injured. So he has to think, I hate when wingers are used as wing backs. And I know he hasn't done all things correctly, but let us also stop capping and saying that it's blah, blah, blah. We have had injuries and it's not an excuse we have. And he's probably not been able to work with what the fan base thinks is the best starting 11 since he's been here. Maybe, just maybe, he's trying to find his best starting 11 from what he had.
Do you know what I think? Do you know where I think he's gone wrong real quickly? I'll tell you where I think he's gone wrong, right? This is where he needs to change. In my opinion, he needs to just do this. And this is what I think he needs to do going into the next part of the season.
Yeah.
I think what he's been doing for the first part of the season, and rightly why he is being criticised to a degree, and I hear it to a degree, I think he's trying to get the best out of the players that he has, not actually specifically doing what he wants to do, right? Because I think he looks at these players and he probably knows that he can't really play to the system and the style that he actually wants to play consistently. So what he's doing is he's trying to find a way to just get the best. You know what Thomas Tuchel did when he came to Chelsea, and he just made a system work for a while, yeah? And it worked for a while, and then the inconsistency kicked in and it didn't, right? Because they just couldn't continue the level that was required. I think he's having the same issue now with what he's doing now. What I think he needs to do, and this is where I think he should just stick to it, I think he should just go back to what he wants to do in terms of the long term, in terms of system, in terms of how he wants to play, yeah, and stick to it. And if he sticks to it and he continues playing a system that he wants to move forward in, and he makes it clear this is how he wants to play, but the players can't play in that system, then it equally can sit there and point the fingers at the players and be like, well, they just can't do what he's required to do in the system that he wants to do. That's why I think he needs to stick to what he wants to do rather than just try and just fill it around the players. Right?
That's what I'm trying to think of when we're talking about players that we need, strikers. I'm starting to think of players that will come in and fit in what he's trying to do when we don't know what he's trying to do. That's what I was trying.
We don't know what he's trying to. We don't know what he's trying to do because he's not. Yeah, I agree, because he's not maybe doing it because he's trying to accommodate what he has and trying to bring the best out of what he has to a degree. I think there's been moments in games where we've seen what he kind of wants to do, in my opinion, but I don't think he's followed it through. And I think maybe he needs to just go, do you know what? Fuck the consistency, because it's going to be like this. Whatever I do, let me just do what I know best and just play it and try and get them to and drill them into trying to play what I want to do in the long term. That's what I think he should be doing. I just don't think he's done that enough.
No.
You know?
Yeah, Jim, I agree. That's because I get the if he was on a short contract, then I understand coming here and not changing it up and playing what the players are used to, right? The guy's here for signed a 7-year contract. It's a long-term thing. We all said that it's a process, this and that. Why wouldn't from the get-go, or not even from the get-go? It's been like 2 months at least after you couldn't find, you couldn't get the system to work, the free in the back and all that. Do your own thing, and then keep drilling that, and then we know which players to bring in and who has to leave and go, and it's meant to be a long-term project, right? With him. So I don't even know if he has any of them in him. And I mean, the fact that we haven't seen him do it on these levels, maybe he doesn't have control of the dressing room. Maybe the dressing room was already messed up, right? That's why I said I can't exclude him from the equation. And that's why I also don't want to bring a lot of these players into this whole mess till it's solved. If there is a mess.
He's going to be a long-term manager for me. I think they've already by sacking Tuchel and making the decision to pick him, they have to stick by their laurels now, which means they're going to have to give him time. So whether we like it or not, in terms of the manager himself, I think the owners are going to give him the time. And when you read this comment here, which has just come out 10 minutes ago, it says, a top source told me yesterday that Chelsea want 3 or 4 signings in January, so expect a busy month next month for sure, via Simon Phillips. And it also goes on to say, I'm told that the club are likely to try to and stick to their ethos of bringing in largely young players to move forward into an era and for the future of the club. And it goes back to what I said, which worries me slightly, or not worry me, but then worries me from the Chelsea fan base point of view, is that I don't think Chelsea fan base has the patience, and I'm talking about a lot of it, the social media Chelsea fan base have the patience to allow that to happen, because they have these expectations that we should be in that team. And that's going to be an issue, because we're bringing in largely young players. You can't fit these largely young players to come into the first team and kick on. Some of them may do. Others may need a bit more time to grow and whatever, along with the experience that's going to be required there, which tells me that we're going to need to go a bit longer with this, that this is a long-term project. This is going to be a new era in terms of not the now, the future, and what we want to try and do in building Chelsea again and restructuring it, So if they're going to do that,
and I think they need. I'm sorry I cut you off. We can chew gum and walk at the same time. Maybe I'm trying to think not, but maybe Potter will not be the coach that will end up winning us all these trophies we as Chelsea fans are used to and want, all these multiple Champions Leagues and Premier Leagues and whatnot. And maybe he will just be the person to do all the building and whatnot, and then the other person will get the final product. I don't want that to happen, but I'm just saying, not everything, not like 2 things can happen at the same time. And my point was, whether, as Jem had said earlier, whether we, the fan base, likes it or not, he is their long-term manager. And whether the fan base is up in arms or something, and we saw the way, it's like, I don't want to put words in their mouth or something. It's like they didn't give a fuck. We are going to sack Tuchel, and they really didn't come out and explain it much, but they were like, Potter is our person and we are going to stick by him. So whether we like it or not, they'll probably do it in his image. So maybe we shouldn't just be talking of why we don't think Potter is a good manager or something, but look at it from the point of, he's what we have right now, and let's go with that. So us taking all this time and speaking about, some of us don't think that he is a good manager enough for us, is not really relevant to them. I don't know if I'm waffling or making sense.
No, but no, I agree with the first start that he's there to build the team, and then if he doesn't do a good job, just like any other manager, another one comes in to win the trophies on the finished product. But Where there's a couple scenario. Potter is not untouchable, and like Jim brought up, our fan base aren't that patient. And we don't know much about Bowley, and I'm wondering how bad do things have to get, right? Because I'll tell you something, yeah. If there was no World Cup, it was looking pretty ugly, the way we were playing, and it didn't look like we're improving. And if there was more back-to-back games of the last ones, the way we finished, right, it was going to be pretty bad, right? And that can happen when the season starts again, right? And if we start the same way, all that same narrative at the end is going to come back fast. And I'm going to wonder how bad do things have to get, and how much can Bowley take? Because people are going to go after him, people are going to go after Potter, and if there's going to be a lot of noise. And I'm just wondering how much can Bowley take before he pulls that trigger and says maybe not, right? Because how low do we have to go, right, in the ladder for that narrative of he's here long term to say maybe not? Because I do agree about the long term thing, right? Just so you know.
No, I'm saying they already said they're not going to sack him. So that's what I'm saying.
He's not untouchable. You can't say he's untouchable.
No, what I will say.
Get that, and things can change. But we can't choose to believe one part of what is told to us and not the other part. They have already put it out there very strongly from various sources that we always believe for transfers and all this Chelsea news, that he's not going to get sacked even if we're not in the top 4. And a lot of fans really think, and the Matlaws, the skin sellers, it's been out there for a while, that they're not going to sack him even if he doesn't get top 4.
Sorry, I missed it. Who came out and said it? Was Bowley?
Matlaw and Niza Kinsellers, all this like...
No, hold on. Unless Bowley or any of the higher up say, because they're always going to back their manager, but unless he makes a statement like that, Matlaw, Nizal, nah. Bowley talks a lot
that's
too.
That's my point.
Bro, hey, hold on. Bowley talks a lot.
Believe one part.
What I'm saying, look, Bowley talks a lot. Let me finish my point.
If it doesn't suit your narrative, don't believe the rest of the part.
No. Just because you're cherry picking a few things, that's your narrative. I'm telling you now, unless it comes up, you got upset when I interrupted you. Yeah, let me just try to finish the point.
Go on.
Yeah, look, Bowley talks a lot. We know that. We didn't hear nothing from Roman. This is something new to us. Yeah, right. So Bowley, there's no problem with Bowley coming out and saying that, or one of the other, the higher ups of the club. If they come out and say they make that the target, right, publicly, because that managers don't do that. That's how, owners don't do that, right? No one actually says this is our goal. They don't say it out open because there's many other factors that I want to go back on the word, right? There is a hidden goal there that they've given. Maybe they've given him a free season, but maybe he has to hit a range. If we drop more than 8th, right, there's a lot of things that, the factors go out. Nizal, those guys will turn on that statement too, because that's not real, right? If you're going to cherry pick some stuff, let me ask.
Let me jump in a minute. Let me get in.
I just want to ask the one question and for you guys, yeah? Do you guys think that doesn't matter what happens this season, right? If Potter's untouchable, and if you don't think he is, then where's the risk here? Right. Because I think if we're around top 4, we're okay. But I think if we're similar to what we know, I think he's at risk.
So this is my opinion on it, right? So, and it kind of links to this comment that we got from Broja here as well, right? So this is the thing, right? I don't think that he's physically untouchable, right? What I do think is that him not getting top 4, he won't get sacked. And that's my opinion. The reason I say that is because of how they sacked Thomas Tuchel and how quick they negotiated and brought Graham Potter in. I think there is a long-term idea with Potter. Now, where the questions come with Potter is not too much this season. I think they're going to give him leeway on this season. And that's my opinion. It's going to be once the board, the hierarchy, etc., is set. And we're close to doing that when you think about it, right? And it's funny because Broja is talking about Newcastle and the way their recruitment's set, right? This is all true. However, we're still in the pieces of the puzzles to putting that all together. So the judgment of our recruitment can't be spoke too much about yet, Broja. So my thing will be summer window, moving from there. How we move, how we utilize the transfer window, and how this recruitment team that we built up are utilized, right? So that's the one thing, right? Secondly, when he's been given better players, better young players, better, better players in positions to then enhance his systems, the pressure will then be on for him to see us progress closer and closer and closer to the top. And I mean the Man Cities, for example, right? I don't think this is something that happens over just 1 or 2 seasons. I think there's going to have to be progression. But ultimately, I think Potter's going to have to follow that progression going on. So if he gets backed and he's been given players and the hierarchy are doing their bit and they're giving him kind of what he wants in a way, and he's struggling to still get the best out of what he's being given and they're just not working and he can't bring them together, then I think you'll see that the owners will look at it again and go, hang on, this, we're progressing forward, but the manager ain't and the squad ain't. That's when the question marks then come on him. So for me, him going anywhere now isn't happening. But in the next second and third seasons, the pressure will be on Potter, Bowley, the hierarchy, the football club, because we are supposedly going to be progressing. So if we all start doing that like that one side, and Graham Potter doesn't join it, and we're still down here, then it's a problem. And that's when the discussion of Potter maybe not being the man and this, that, and the other, and not getting the best out of players and not playing the system that he wants to play, then comes. Not on these crop of players that we currently have at the moment. So that's why.
But Jim, isn't there a minimum that we should be hitting with this crop of players? Even though I agree with everything you said, but at least there's the question mark with Potter too, because we haven't seen Potter do any of that, right? But he had potential, right? So that's why everyone can ask that question. Maybe this is too big for him. If you got Pep Guardiola, right, and then you've seen what he's done, and you go, yeah, look, just give him time, give him the players, and it's going to come good. But there's a question mark with Potter, right? So isn't there a minimum? Because we've kind of gone backwards. I agree with everything you said about the players and that.
It has to be a progression. That's what I'm saying. It has to.
But for this season, right, while the pressure is going to pile on, is there a minimum we should be getting? Because I just want to say something to go off to say, yeah, Potter's our guy. Give him this and that, and it's going to happen. But now I'm split and I'm torn because I felt like the stuff he did at Brighton, if he can do it again, it would be great. But that's at a low level, not at a high level. And let me just say that now maybe he can't handle it at this level. So.
Okay, yeah, I get that. Hold that for a second. Mark Cucurella came out in an interview recently and said that Graham Potter's first season at Brighton was awful, wasn't actually good. He said that he struggled to actually fully understand specifically what was required. It was, the systems, lack of players, specific profile of players in the team, and then they kicked on. So the progression after the first season then progressed, and that's why you saw Brighton and even fans across the Premier League started noticing Brighton more because of the football, the style, the type of profile players they were bringing in. This all happened over a progressive period of time with Potter. He's only just got at Chelsea at a bigger image, a bigger club. He's going to be given the same leeway, and that's what I think Bowley's looked at. I think Bowley's looked at the progression at Brighton of where he started and where he found himself to with the recruitment, which is why we've nicked some of their recruitment team as we have done. And I think he's looking at it and going, I want that progression at Chelsea. Yeah, and I want it to push us to the top. But we're going to give you a bit more money with better players, with a better team, with money that you can then challenge for things.
Jem, hold on, Rodrigo. I just want to use Jem's point with him. So, my bad. I agree with everything, Jem, what you're just saying. Then to probably understand what I'm trying to say, I'm going to use your example with Brighton, right? What you just brought up and the statement, so you get what I'm trying to ask you here. In his first season, right, he didn't do that well. But if Brighton were in the relegation zone, right, would he be at risk of getting sacked? Even though they know, it's progress, this and that.
I think they would.
So in that same risk, that's what I'm saying, right? So even in his first season, right, and it was about progression and whatnot, right, he still had a minimum to not get relegated, right? Does Chelsea, for this season, have a minimum?
No, they will have a target. Their target will always be to get, I believe, to get Champions League football. But however, what they have turned around and said, the Matt Laws, is that if we do not, however, make it this season for whatever reason, injuries, not, players, whatever, not being able to foresee it through the season, that they're not going to build the pressure on him getting the sack in this season. That's what I think they're going to do. Now, it's different if we finish I think it might be a little bit different if we finish like 10th, 11th, 12th. Do you know what I mean?
That's
Like
what I'm asking, Jim. What's that
that-
leeway? Like, I agree with 5th and 6th. Okay, we missed out, and maybe we were close, right? And that's all right. I agree with there. But if we finish like what we are now, 8th and maybe around there or low, is there a difference? And would it put him at and would it put his job at risk? That's what I want to know for everyone.
It's
What's a
not.
minimum to move
It
up?
won't put his. I get. No matter like, and I'm not trying to be rude. No matter how differently you try and word it, unless we're in a relegation battle, he is not getting sacked. They literally invested just for his salary alone, him and not just his team. They literally invested 60 M's on him. They invested another 22 million to get him and his coaching staff to come to us. I get it. We are not supposed to look at our club as a money-making team. But at the end of the day, our owners, our co-owners, and Oboli, but clearly are in the business of also making money in the long term. So my point, I really get what you mean. And it really shows that you're not really in tune with Potter. But he is not, this season, let's just go with just this season, he is going nowhere. Unless we are literally in a relegation battle, he is going nowhere. And
I think he's gonna. I think it's gonna be interesting because if we don't improve, right? If we don't hit the ground running, right, and we continue how we left off, I think the pressure from the fans is. I'm interested to see how Boli reacts because there is going to be pressure.
Fans.
It's going to be the stadium fans too booing.
I'm sorry,
100%.
There is a difference between the SB faithfuls and the Twitter faithfuls. Jem goes to the stadium more than me. He goes. I'm sorry, 1 minute. He goes to the stadium, and even when the online fan base does not like J5, he is well and highly loved with the Stamford Bridge faithfuls. And even when like the Twitter fan base does not like Mount, he is really loved by the online faithful. I mean, by the Stamford Bridge faithful. So I get it. There'll be noise with. I don't even like putting this example, but let me just even say, even when the whole online Arsenal fan base was calling for Arteta's head, what they decided to stick with him. And I'm not trying, it's apples and oranges, and I get that. But then that's what I'm saying. Give an example, even when all these people that we want to emulate, go look at Pep's first season. Go look at Liverpool's 2-3. I mean, just 1 minute. Just 1 minute. 1 minute. 1 minute.
Okay.
Right, so I kind of need to go as well. I mean, this is dragging out. It's a great show, but it's dragging. Go on.
Yeah, no, hurry up. Jim has to go. I want to get put into.
Go.
Go look at those first seasons and then go think about how the opposition right now has gotten stronger. Liverpool's and the Man Cities and the Arsenals, they are way stronger than what we were going with. That's my point. Liverpool. So the other times you could creep into the top 4 and everything, but then now the opposition has also strengthened. So just because
but those managers have done it before. That's the point I brought up earlier. Those managers have done it. You can hold faithful on those managers because you've seen them. You can go off what the history, right? What they've done. Potter, you can't do the same. And Boli, we don't know how Boli will react. And I'll tell you this: match-going fans will be all joined together. If we're sitting 10th or something, and they go to the match and we play poorly, they're all gonna boo, right? And same with the online fans.
Yeah.
Everyone's gonna be that pressure is too much. There has to be a minimum for Potter to hit, right?
We know that. I get what you're saying, Declare, but I think that is like. Look, let me just say.
That's common sense. Is that what you're saying?
This squad is not a squad that should be finishing under 10th. This squad is not a squad that should be finishing under 8th. This squad, for me, is a squad that should be finishing still, I feel, in and around Champions League or 5th or 6th, in my opinion. So, like, you do that, even if we don't get Champions League and you finish 5th or 6th, even though I don't want us to, because I don't want Europa League football. I'd rather just not be in it, in my opinion.
Yeah.
You know,
I agree with that.
He don't go nowhere. He still doesn't go anywhere, does he? That's my point. Like, you don't see Potter getting sacked for that, in my opinion. You know. But...
No, I don't. I'm trying to find out where everyone thinks is that swap where it's questionable. I have the same. If he finishes around top 4, then all right, that's all right. And like you, I don't even want Europa. So if you finish, what is it, 7th is the cutoff? If you finish just outside, then I'm happy with that too. But the way we're going now, I don't even think we're a top 8 team. Like the how poor we're playing, I need a transformation. I need to see something great. I need like some form as soon as the season starts.
Well,
because I'm worried if we keep going the same way, we're going to be lower than 8th, and then
it can't get any worse than losing 4 games in a row at the back of a World Cup, right?
Oh, you think so?
Yeah, you think
so, Jem? Really? Really?
Look. Let's be serious, right? Reece James is back. Wesley Fofana's back. Yeah. Kante and Chua are on their way back. We're going to have a lot more quality. I say a better squad, right?
Reece James a massive one.
But I just don't see us losing 4 back-to-back games again. I'll be shocked if we do. I'll be shocked. I will come on here and I will literally, I don't know. I'll be shocked.
Well, I haven't looked at the fixture.
You just come and be shocked.
Don't we have Man City like kind of back to back?
Yeah. And Jem, earlier you're talking about a Graham Potter achievement. I think it's overrated, that achievement. I think Nuno Wolves did better. I think it's achieved.
Stop capping. Stop.
Martinez did better.
What is Yellow Bus doing in? Yellow Bus is saying, "Get me."
Oh, the Bus! Look at the Bus boarding too. Redneck as well.
Listen, guys. Why did you come an hour ago? I'm finishing the show now. It's 2 hours and 20 minutes. I need to go. Listen, come back on. We have this discussion. We've had a very good discussion today. Daniel, Yellow Bus as well, and Redneck. I would send you it, but I need to shoot, guys. I've been on there nearly 2 hours and 30 minutes now talking. Go back and watch the show though. This show's been a very good one, and we'll continue this discussion. I think we do need to continue discussion going into the January transfer window, going into obviously Chelsea kicking off football again as well. So lots to go. And Daniel says we've finished. He's just anyway. That's the Yellow Bus for you right there, guys. Great show, good discussions. Save all of everything else you have for the next show. We'll definitely continue these discussions again, and we'll get Redneck on, we'll get Daniel, and we'll build it up. I'll drop everyone the links so that they can come in on the next show as well. We'll get back to doing these more frequently now as well. Obviously, the World Cup will be finished at the end of this week anyway. So going on from next week up to Friday, I'm going to be trying to do at least 2, maybe even 3 shows. And then Friday, I'm away for 10 days. So unfortunately, but I'll be back at the beginning of Jan for the transfer window and everything else for Chelsea. So yes, guys, we'll be back. But big up to yourselves, guys. Still over 175 of you all here. Nabadik, Declared, Rodrigo. Good show today, man. Everyone else that came on as well. I've enjoyed the discussions. We'll be back again with another show very, very soon, guys. Peace out. Take care.
Take care, man.